Honorable Speaker, the East African Legislative Assembly held sensitization in the EAC partner states from the 1st to the 6th of February under the theme EAC Integration Agenda, assessing the gains and accessing the gains and assessing the challenges.
Honorable George, I think because of the voluminous nature of the report, if we use this podium, it will be more convenient for you. And at any point in time, if you think anybody should help you to read the report, please be free to do that. Honorable members, do you have the copies? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The report of the 4th Eala on the sensitization activity held in the EAC partner states 1st to 6th of February 2019 under the theme EAC Integration Agenda, accessing the gains and assessing the challenges. This report has a table of contents such as its introduction, background, justification for the sensitization, objectives of the sensitization, methods of the sensitization activity, expected outcomes, findings of the sensitization activities. It has reports from the Republic of Burundi, which includes the interaction with the media, interaction with the private sector, outreach targeting the provinces of Rumonge, Makamba, Rutana, and Ruigi, interaction with civil society, youth, and women organizations. They had a courtesy call with the minister in charge of EAC affairs, interaction with the OBR, Burundi Revenue Authority, interaction with the focal persons in charge of EAC, and he also has recommendations that are coming from the Republic of Burundi. On the part of the Republic of Kenya, they had interaction with the political leadership and residents of Nairobi County. They had public meetings in Muranga County. They had general recommendations and observations. Republic of Rwanda had interaction with the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and EAC Corporation, interaction with the Private Sector Federation. They had a courtesy call to the Rwanda National Parliament. They had a meeting with the Committee on Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Security. They had interactions with youth. They had a TV talk show on the national television, Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, and they have also put in their recommendations. The Republic of South Sudan met with the Ministry of Trade, Investment, and EAC. They had talk shows with Radio Miraya, and Bakita FM. They interacted with the several stakeholders. They had a session with the Transitional National Assembly. They had a meeting with the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning, and they have also given their recommendations. The Republic of Tanzania had a press conference. They visited the Tanzania Port Authority, had engagement with government and private sector, the National Monitoring Committee on Elimination of Non-Tariff Barriers, and the National Implementation of EAC Common Market. They made a courtesy called Trademark East Africa Tanzania. They had engagement with staff students of the University of Dar es Salaam. They had engagement with society, civil society, and private sector organizations, radios and television shows, and they have also given their recommendations. Republic of Uganda had a meeting with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Ministry of Education, Sports, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, Uganda Communications Commission, Uganda Revenue Authority, members of Parliament, and they gave their recommendations. And this report also has general recommendations on matters of Common Market Protocol and their acknowledgement. Introduction. The East African Community EAC is a regional intergovernmental organization of 6 partner states: the Republics of Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, the United Republic of Tanzania, and Uganda. The treaty for the establishment of the EAC, which entered into force on 7th July 2000, informs the mandate of the EAC. Article 49 of the treaty establishes the East Africa Legislative Assembly as one of the organs of the community whose mandate is to legislate, represent, and oversight all matters within the scope of the EAC. In carrying out its representative role, the Assembly serves as a link between the organs and institutions of the EAC and the people of East Africa. Eala is the people's voice and regards the commitments and policies of their governments, the EAC. This the Assembly does through public hearings, workshops, seminars, as well as sensitization rallies on the status of the integration process. Background. Article 5.2 of the treaty envisages 4 major stages towards full integration, namely the establishment of a customs union, a common market, a monetary union, and ultimately a political federation. In widening and deepening cooperation of the partner states for their mutual benefit, the EAC countries established a customs union in 2005, a common market in 2010, and the protocol for the establishment of a monetary union was signed in 2013 to lay groundwork for a monetary union within 10 years. The process to establish a political federation was kick-started by the 20th Ordinary Summit of the EAC Heads of State that sat in Arusha, Tanzania, 1st February 2019. Since the establishment of the EAC, several achievements have been registered in the political, economic, and social spheres. However, there are also challenges existing to the success of the integration process. The Assembly therefore considers the citizens of the community as key stakeholders to the integration process. This is because citizens' understanding and appreciation of the driving factors behind the integration is critical to the success of this process. It is the mandate of Eala to sensitize the citizens of EAC, of East Africa, on their roles in the integration process and to garner commitment for the process by routinely updating citizens on the achievements, challenges, opportunities of EAC. This report therefore focuses on the first phase of the sensitization activity, which was held in partner states from the 1st to the 6th of February 2019. Justification for the sensitization. The Eala Strategic Plan 2013 to 2018, whose theme is anchored on a people-centered approach, envisages sensitization of the citizens of EAC region on the EAC integration progress. A people-centered approach and a market-driven approach is similarly inferred to under Article 7(1)(a) of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. As part of its work plan, in the financial year 2018-2019, Eala is desirous to sensitize citizens of East Africa on the issues involved in the integration process. The sensitization activities were earmarked to take place from February to April 2019. The Assembly therefore ordinarily engaged with various key stakeholders, including institutions of higher learning, members of national and local parliaments, civil society, the private sector and media, in order to establish awareness, gaps, identify challenges about the EAC integration process. The objectives of the sensitization. Sensitization of EAC citizens on the overall integration process. 2. Promotion of liaison with EAC national assemblies and key stakeholders. 3. Creation of awareness among EAC populace on the gains and challenges of integration. 4. Enhancement of mutual relationships and sustainable networking between Eala and EAC population. 5. Inform EAC populace on the role of Eala in the integration process. Methodology of the sensitization activity. Eala undertook the sensitization program under the theme EAC Integration Agenda, accessing the gains and assessing the challenges, revolving on the achievement and challenges involved in the implementation of the various EAC pillars of integration. The first phase of the sensitization activity for the 4th Assembly was carried out from February to 6th, 2019, where members met various stakeholders within partner states targeting government institutions of higher learning, such as universities, colleges, secondary schools, the media, private sector, and legislators. Eala worked closely with the respective ministries of EAC in the partner states to coordinate the activity through focal persons to identify and access the targeted stakeholders. The chapters employed the following approaches while undertaking the sensitization activities. 1. Chapters held planning meetings to deliberate on the modalities of how and where to conduct the sensitization. 2. Chapters held press conferences to inform the public on the objectives of the sensitization. Chapters conducted radio and television talk shows with different media houses. Chapters distributed copies of the Treaty for the Establishment of the EAC brochures on EAC integration process, the EAC flag and anthem to the stakeholders. Chapters conducted interactive sessions with partner state legislators, civil society organizations, youth, and the private sector, among other stakeholders. Conducted sensitization programs in the institutions of higher learning. Conducted field visits. Chapters made courtesy calls to different government officials and held roundtable meetings. Chapters reviewed and internalized related literature such as the Treaty for the Establishment of the EAC and the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly. Expected outcomes. sensitization of EAC citizens on the overall integration process, promotion of liaison with EAC national assemblies and key stakeholders, creation of awareness among EAC populace on the gains and challenges of integration, informed EAC populace on the role of Eala in the integration process. What were the findings? Republic of Burundi, interaction with the media. The delegation interacted with the media and the following issues were raised. How the integration process will influence the Burundi culture. The process of clearing goods at the Dar es Salaam port is lengthy and bureaucratic. The delay in the construction of a railway line in Burundi to connect to other EAC countries. The wide economic gap between Burundi and other partner states and how it affects Burundi in the integration process. The official language at the EAC is English. This limits Burundi nationals from participating fully in the integration process of the EAC, including seeking employment opportunities. There are challenges in exchange of Burundi currency in the other partner states, which affects the progress in the integration process. Interaction with the private sector. The delegation of Burundi interacted with private sector and the following issues were raised. The vehicles entering the United Republic of Tanzania, including those used by tour operators, are required to pay extra fees before they are allowed into the country, and yet this is against the spirit of EAC integration. Although the single tourist visa was agreed upon among EAC member states, it is yet to be applicable to the Republic of Burundi, and this constitutes an obstacle to the development of the tourism sector. Exporters of goods from Burundi to other EAC countries are exempted from paying VAT. This should be extended to the tourism sector, which is currently not enjoying this exemption, so as to promote tourism in Burundi. The cost of air travel within the region inflates the cost of doing business. Air tickets are very expensive in Burundi. There is need to implement the use of national identity cards as travel documents to allow free movement of persons across the borders. There have been cases of certificate of origin of goods from the Republic of Burundi being rejected in Kenya and the United Republic of Tanzania. The goods have been regarded as not being genuine, causing delays and extra costs in doing business. This is against the EAC integration agenda. The use of different information technology and communication systems by EAC partner states, which are not compatible with the ones used by Burundi Revenue Authority, hence causing delays during clearing of goods. There are multiple way bridges in the United Republic of Tanzania, like Arusha Longido, Babati Singida, Kahama Nyakanazi, and this is contrary to the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act of 2016. This has resulted in high costs of doing business. The Tanzania government gave Burundi transporters a very short notice to replace super single tires on their lorries with 2 tires. Transporters are now obliged to reduce the load in Dar es Salaam before starting their journey to avoid the $15,000 fine. There is evidence that Burundi transporters are not treated fairly when their vehicles are not located in the Tanzania Revenue Authority system. For example, in Tanga, Burundi transporters have to pay Tanzanian shillings 35,000 despite the fact that the lorries are transporting transit goods. Receipts of the transactions are also not provided. There should be sensitization campaigns to create awareness to local transporters about the dangers of exceeding the recommended tonnage. The liberalization of the coffee sector has attracted many investors. However, the bureaucracies encountered at the Dar es Salaam and Mombasa ports pose a challenge, escalating the export costs. There's lack of awareness on matters regarding cross-border trade among business people. Lack of information regarding the East African Development Bank to the citizens of the country. This has limited them from benefiting from funding for investment projects in the country. Different partner states apply different charges to commercial road users. For instance, in the Republic of Uganda, the fees varies from $50 to $100 depending on the day and place, while in the Republic of Kenya, the charges are up to $200. There is need to harmonize the road usage fees in the EAC. There was an outreach targeting the provinces of Rumonge, Makamba, Rutana, and Rigi. Members divided themselves into 3 groups to cover the 4 targeted provinces for the outreach activities, Rumonge and Makamba provinces. At Rumonge province, members met and interacted with the governor and other local authorities from Office Burundes, OBR, Burundi Revenue Authority, Maritime Authority, and Police Immigration Department. During interaction with the residents at Rumonge Port, the following concerns were raised. 1. reduction in number of boats carrying goods from United Republic of Tanzania due to high tax varying between $227 and $230, while the tax imposed on boats operating from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, is $60, and yet Democratic Republic of Congo is not a member of the EAC. At the Mugina border post and Kabonga port in Mukamba province, the following concerns were raised. Boats at Kabonga port carrying goods from the United Republic of Tanzania are obliged to pay $165. There is a need to harmonize and reduce taxes for boats from the United Republic of Tanzania docking at Rumonge and Kabonga ports. There is need to fast-track the construction of a one-stop border post at Mugina in Makamba province and Rumonge port. At Rutana province, the team visited Giharo in Rutana province. The meeting was attended by representatives of the administration, Purity, OBR, Burundi Revenue Authority, immigration, and the business community. During interaction with the participants, the following concerns were raised. There is need to enhance security for persons and property. There is need to create continuous awareness on trade-related regulations, guidelines, customs manuals, among other procedures. There is need to open an immigration post on Tanzania side to ease movement of people. For example, passport applications are forced to travel. Passport applicants are forced to travel to Mombasa, where they have to pay 20,000 francs for transportation. There is an urgent need to streamline the acquisition of certificates of origin for the commercial products, since the traders in the area are facing difficulties in obtaining them. This absence of immigration offices, the absence of immigration has made access to immigration services difficult, which limits free movement of people. The NR11 connecting Rutana, Ngomante, and Tanzania is not in good condition. Ruigi province. The third team visited Gisuru commune in Kibondo district, which borders the United Republic of Tanzania. During their interaction with the governor of Ruigi province, the following concerns were raised. There is need for increased cooperation, communication, and sharing of information on security matters between authorities in Ruigi and their Tanzanian counterparts in Kigoma province. They need to allow Tanzanian and Burundi registered motorcycles to operate in Burundi, and they need to reduce theft cases of motorcycles, vice versa. There is a need to facilitate free movement of persons along the borders to promote trade. Speedy completion of a market being built at the border side of United Republic of Tanzania, where Burundian women have been promised space to sell their products. The residents urge the authorities from both sides of the border revitalize the sports events between the two countries in order to strengthen social cohesion. Visit to Gisuru border. The team was received by the administration of Gisuru together with other senior district officers, including Chief Immigration Officer of the Chief Police and the Chief Police Officer in Gisuru. During interaction with the residents of Gisuru, the following concerns were raised. There is no free movement of persons within the border, and there are reported cases of Burundians being denied entry into the United Republic of Tanzania. The poor state of roads does not facilitate the free movement of goods. In order to facilitate trade and free movement of persons, the residents requested the border post to be in operation on a 24-hour basis. High entry stamp fees being levied for travelers seeking or holding temporary travel documents, which costs Burundian franc 10,000 for 1 month and Burundian franc 30,000 for 3 months. That chief immigration officers of Tanzania and Burundi should meet regularly to discuss the issues at hand and inform local residents about their rights and obligations related to movement of persons across the border. Interaction with civil society, youth, and women organizations. During interaction with civil society, youth, and women organizations, the following concerns were raised. The incident in Nairobi, they were discriminated against during the last annual meeting of the East African Civil Society Organizations Forum held in Nairobi and sponsored by GIZ. Invitations to persons participating in the forums within EAC should be dispatched early enough. Republic of Burundi citizens should be issued with biometric IDs which allow them to move freely within the region. Burundi National Youth Council, an information exchange forum for the youth, civil society, and religious groups should be at the forefront in choosing young ambassadors to the EAC. Eala should hold frequent sensitization activities about the integration process within EAC. There is need for exchange programs where women and youth have an opportunity to visit partner states and learn best practices on self-employment. The EAC should integrate the newly adopted education system in the Republic of Burundi for the benefit of all the EAC countries. While the Burundi National Youth Council is made of elected members from all political parties, the councils are rarely informed about regional activities affecting the youth in the EAC partner states. The government of Burundi or the EAC Secretariat should facilitate the youth to participate in the annual EAC Youth Leadership Summit. The members had a courtesy call on the Minister in charge of EAC Affairs. The delegation paid a courtesy call on the Minister in charge of EAC Affairs, and the following issues were discussed. There is lack of sensitization awareness about EAC. There is existence of corrupt practices taking place, especially at the border posts, which pose serious threats to the integration process. There is slow dissemination of EAC protocols and other legal instruments enacted by EAC. The unequal sharing of benefits among partner states in general, and particularly jobs at the EAC organs and institutions. The Inter-University Council for East Africa has not been giving Burundi students equal opportunities for scholarships like EAC partner states. The unequal sharing of job opportunities in the EAC organs and institutions was affecting the citizens of Burundi. Interaction with management of Burundi Revenue Authority. During the interaction with the management of Burundi Revenue Authority, the following concerns were raised. EAC partner states revenue authorities' use of different automated systems by EAC partner states for customs data, which slows down the exchange of documents, leading to delays and increase in cost of doing business between the partner states. Lack of disclosure by Burundi Revenue Authority to traders on different custom tariffs and high fee charges at Mombasa and Dar es Salaam ports. Burundi Revenue Authority does not charge the same docking fees at the port of Rubonge and Kabonga, leading to loss of revenue since most port boats opt to dock at the Democratic Republic of Congo for cheaper fees, for cheaper rates. Lack of basic amenities at Bicharo and Kobero border posts, such as washrooms, electricity, and furniture, thus affecting the services being rendered to the public. The government of Burundi should consider construction of way bridges as a way of protecting its roads and a source of income. Interaction with focal persons in charge of EAC in the Ministry of National Defense and former combatants. During interaction with the focal person from the Ministry of Defense, the following issues were raised. Joint military trainings have enhanced military cooperation. They are conducting joint operations in areas of conflict. Technical assistance from various partner states within EAC and exchange programs with some partner states have been carried out. The Minister of Environment, Agriculture and Livestock. During the interaction with the Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, the following issues were raised. EAC strategic interventions and programs have allowed the Republic of Burundi to participate in enhancing food security and supply of livestock within the community. The regional food balance sheet has allowed quick movement of food products to places where it is most needed. Importation of fertilizers has helped in improving agricultural produce, though EAC partner states should invest in the local manufacturing of fertilizers to reduce on cost of production. There is need to develop an EAC regional plans against transboundary animal diseases. It was observed that the EAC did not assist Burundi in the recent campaigns against small ruminant diseases. Therefore, the EAC should start funding regional programs on agriculture and livestock. Laws to protect parks and reserves are in place. There is need for a coordinated effort from all government institutions to protect the parks and reserves. EAC should ensure that all partner states benefit from Green Climate Fund to support emission reduction projects in developing countries. Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Tourism. During interaction with the focal person from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Tourism, the following issues emerged. There is need to increase funding to sensitize factories on cleaner production methods. Language barrier is affecting the full participation of Burundi since few Burundians understand the language. Ministry of Public Works and Equipment. During interaction with the focal persons, the following issues emerged. That so many regional projects have been carried out, although some are ongoing and others are yet to start. This includes the construction of a regional railway line, roads, ports, airports, and airstrips. There is urgent need to construct way bridges in order to protect the roads. All EAC partner states have benefited from the construction of one-stop border posts. However, some of the projects undertaken by the Republic of Burundi have not benefited from GIZ and the EU, since their policy states that Burundi is not among the beneficiaries. Transportation of almost all goods to and from Burundi is carried out by foreign companies. There is need to invest in this sector to help stimulate the economy of the country. Most regional meetings on infrastructure are represented by 3 ministries, namely the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, Ministries of ICT, and the Ministry of Energy and Mines. However, during these meetings, only one delegate represents Burundi from one single ministry, while other countries have delegations made up of 7 or even 12 persons. The Maritime Authority charges huge fees to boats operating from Tanzania, leading to a loss of revenue due to decreases in number of boats docking. The construction of Rutana-Kiyinya Road, RN11, was not completed by the previous contractor, but plans are underway to find funding for this road. Ministry of Youth, Posts and ICT. During interaction with the focal person from the Ministry of Youth, Posts and ICT, the following issues emerged. Since Burundi joined the EAC, the ministry has benefited a lot, and the Kiswahili language is widely used by the media. There is improved movement of journalists across the EAC borders, and exchange of radio, TV programs, and even news items among partner states is now a reality. Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. During interaction with the focal person from the Ministry of Education, the following issues emerged: that the integration process has brought many benefits to Burundians in the field of education, and the country is trying to harmonize its teaching curricula with those of other partner states. During the 15th summit held in November 2013, the summit directed the Council to study modalities of including French as a language of the community along English and Kiswahili. Since Burundi is the only French-speaking country in the region, Eala members encourage Burundians to improve their English and Kiswahili language skills to align with other partner states to fully enjoy the fruits of integration. Minister of Public Health and the fight against HIV. During interaction with the focal person from Minister of Health, the following issues emerged: that the integration process has brought about many benefits to Burundians as far as the health sector is concerned. For instance, hosting regional conferences, the 6th Health and Scientific Conference, and participation in the operationalization of regional network of public health reference laboratories for communicable diseases. Other benefits include laboratory projects in Muyinga, Kayanza, Rumonge, and Makamba provinces, and hosting of the East African Community Health Commission. East African Integration Disease Surveillance Network has enhanced and strengthened cross-country and cross-institutional collaboration through regional coordination of activities in prevention and control of both human and animal diseases. 3 vehicles have been distributed in the country, and Euro 550,000 will be given to each partner state in the fight against Ebola. East Africa Cross-Border Health Services Program should be implemented in the country, and like other partner states, Burundi should have its own regional center of excellence for healthcare. Republic of Burundi is about to sign a law to introduce National Food and Drug Authority to oversee the regulations of food and medical products coming in from other partner states, EAC partner states. Minister of Culture and Sports. During interaction with the focal person from the Ministry of Culture and Sports, the following issues emerged. Burundi has participated in sports tournaments organized at the regional level, and in appealing to EAC is to finance sports clubs in the country to participate in sporting events in other partner states. The need to expedite the intellectual property and copyright legislation in the EAC partner states. The general observations. From the interactive sessions with various stakeholders, members observed the following: existence of non-tariff barriers, bureaucracies, and other trade discriminatory practices are affecting trade in the EAC. There should be increased sensitization activities and interactions with the Eala members. Language barriers has hampered Burundians from seeking opportunities in the EAC, since English and Kiswahili languages are commonly used in the EAC. Non-recognition by some partner states of certificates of origin for exported goods originating from Burundi. Less transformation with regard to transborder trade and free movement of people and goods since Burundi joined the EAC. Lack of access to information about integration process by various stakeholders and citizens in general. Weak participation of the private sector in the EAC integration process. Existence of nationalistic and protectionist tendencies in partner states where trade barriers exist. non-application of the EAC immigration and labor policies and regulations by some immigration officers in some partner states, existence of cross-border insecurity that affects ordinary Burundian citizens when traveling to Tanzania, lack of joint initiatives to promote and enhance tourism in all partner states. Recommendation: there is urgent need to harmonize national laws and regulations in respect to transport and control of vehicles. There is need to promote EAC as a single tourist destination and apply to a single tourist visa for all partner states. Sensitization and awareness to allow relevant stakeholders to realize opportunities and articulate the benefits drawn from EAC integration and to develop positive thinking of the same. There is need for implementation of the Common Market Protocol to increase trade within partner states. Involvement of all stakeholders, especially the youth, women, private sector, and civil society in EAC integration process. Respect of fundamental operational principles of the community by all partner states as stated by Articles 6 and 7 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. Implementation of the East African Community laws on elimination of Non-Tariff Barriers Act 2017, establishment of more one-stop border points to enhance trade and free movement of persons and goods as envisaged by the EAC One-Stop Border Post Act of 2016, enhance cooperation and collaboration between revenue authority agencies within EAC partner states. There is need for implementation of the East African Community Vehicle Load Control Act 2016 by all partner states. Republic of Kenya. The Kenyan delegation adopted the field visits method, reaching out the citizenry. The members would first give presentations and therefore allow members of the public to ask questions. The team also reached out to the public through media briefings. Interaction with the political leadership and residents of Nairobi County. The first public meeting was attended by various categories of leaders, including village elders, peace committee members, Nyumba Kumi elders, business persons, chief assistants, legislators, members of the security committees, and the youth. The attendees were drawn from the following Nairobi County constituencies: Njiru, Kasarani, Kibra, Langata, Starehe, and Westlands. During the interaction with political leadership and the residents of Nairobi County, the following issues emerged. Slow issuance of e-passports. The process of issuing passports by the Department of Immigration and Registration of Persons is quite slow. This process should be expedited. Access of identification documents. Challenges of accessing birth certificates and identity cards for adults and children born through intermarriages of persons originating from EAC partner states. Auctioning of cows and banning of chicks from Kenya. The residents reported that they were not given an opportunity by the Tanzanian government to redeem their cows and chicks. Lack of sensitization and awareness on the processes, the integration agenda from EAC to the grassroots. Measures in place to prevent collapse of the community and a safeguard in place to ensure the equitable distribution of the community resources in case of the collapse of the community, as was in the case in 1977. Women Empowerment Program. Women stakeholders wanted to know whether there are any programs initiated by the EAC to provide them with any support to undertake trade activities within the EAC and other regional communities, such as COMESA. On security. On matters security, residents of Nairobi were concerned about Somalia becoming a partner state of the EAC and what measures have been put in place for the country to operate within the laid down procedures, considering that the nationals from that country have often been associated with aiding terrorist attacks, especially on Kenyan soil. Safety of Kenyan truck drivers in South Sudan. The safety and security of Kenyan drivers operating the Republic of South Sudan and measures the EAC has put in place to address them. On health, the health measures that have been put in place by EAC regarding cross-border and free movement of persons, which is likely to lead to the transfer of communicable and non-communicable diseases. National Health Insurance Fund. The National Health Insurance Fund is Kenya's government state corporation with a mandate to provide health insurance to Kenyans over the age of 18. The core business and mandate for NHIF is to provide accessible, affordable, sustainable, and quality health insurance for all Kenyan citizens who have attained the age of 18 years and a monthly income of 1,000 Kenya shillings and above. With the free movement of persons across the region, residents who are concerned about the health insurance covers that are affordable across the EAC countries and whether there was a likelihood of integrating the NHIF organizations in all the EAC partner states so that citizens of EAC can access affordable health care whenever they travel within the region. Flooding of poultry products from Uganda into the Kenyan market, which have made the Kenyan products less competitive. The high cost of used cars. The issue of used cars being expensive in Kenya as opposed to some EAC partner states was discussed. Disjointed policies on age limits among the EAC member states have caused flooding of regional markets with old cars and stifling the growth of new car manufacturing. The clear lack of policy on age limits have been identified as a factor contributing to increasing imports of used vehicles, while also causing adverse impact on environment, safety, and health. Proposals have been made by the EAC to harmonize the age limits for used cars imports at years by 2019. This limit would then be lowered to 5 years by 2021. Work permits. Considering the high rate of unemployment in Kenya, residents of Nairobi were concerned that the government has continued to grant work permits to foreigners and especially EAC citizens, yet the Kenyan citizens are unemployed. The public meeting in Murang'a County, work permits again. Residents reported difficulties in accessing work permits by Kenyans who seek employment in the United Republic of Tanzania. The sale of cat or miraa in Tanzania. Cat farmers in the region were concerned that Tanzania has not opened its market for the products, and the authorities in Tanzania have arrested a number of Kenyans dealing in it. Establishment of businesses in the EAC countries. Residents reported the difficulties they have encountered while attempting to establish and set up businesses in the EAC partner states, which contravenes the common market protocol and the spirit of EAC integration. The issue of flight tickets within the region being very expensive as opposed to those required to travel outside the EAC region was raised. This has hindered the free movement of traders. Kenya Airways should revise its ticket prices and facilitate people to travel within the region in a more cost-effective manner. What are the general observations? Any child born in Kenya is a Kenyan citizen and they have the right to access a birth certificate. Article 14 of the Kenyan Constitution states a person is a citizen by birth whether or not the person is born in Kenya. Either the mother or father of the person is a citizen. Article 14.4 of the Kenyan Constitution states that a child found in Kenya who is or appears to be less than 8 years of age and whose nationality and parents are not known is presumed to be a citizen by birth. Article 15 of the Constitution talks about citizenship by registration. A person who has been married
what is it?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order?
Yeah.
Yes, Honorable. Wait a moment. Yes, Honorable Mnya.
Mr. Speaker, this report we need to follow. The Speaker is really on high speed, such that we can't follow properly. And I think we need also to debate on the report. Can you please rectify that, Mr. Speaker?
Honorable Mnya, speed is relative. So it's very difficult for me to measure which speed is high and But in any case, that is why we have given you copies. Actually, why we read the report is to have the record on Hansard. But you have the copy of the report so that you are able to follow page by page. In any case, Honorable George is advised. Honorable George, you are advised.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Make it easier for members to follow.
Okay.
Thank you.
On the issue of the chicks that were set ablaze and the cows that were auctioned, Eala members urged the participants to abide by the law and to respect the rules and regulations of carrying out cross-border trade. They should always ensure that they have proper documentation before embarking on such a venture. However, in case of issues that can be sorted out, traders were advised to visit the Regional Integration Office at the Namanga border. It was also recommended that traders should focus on doing business where there is already a signed mutual cooperation agreement between countries. The Department of Immigration and Registration of Persons should fast-track the issuance of the East African passports to Kenyans who want to trade within the region. EAC citizens who are married to Kenyans should be granted identification documents as long as they meet the requirements enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution. With regard to auctioning of cows and the banning of chicks from Kenya, members noted that anyone who wants to trade within the region must comply with the laws of the country they intend to trade with. EAC countries, on the other hand, should strive as much as possible to eliminate the non-tariff barriers and allow free movement of persons within the region. The EAC citizens are still not aware about the initiatives that have been put in place by the community to enhance trading among women and the youth. For instance, very few women are aware about the 50 million Africa Women Speak networking platform project. Awareness should be created in this area. For EAC to fully realize the 4 pillars of integration, peace and security for all EAC citizens is paramount. Article 124 of the EAC of the treaty establishing the EAC states that partner states agree that peace and security are prerequisites to social and economic development, within the community and vital to the achievement of the objectives of the community. On matters NHIF, it is envisioned that other EAC countries will adopt the health insurance policy and provide accessible, affordable, sustainable, and quality health insurance to their citizens. Once that is accomplished, agreements will be reached regarding what ailments can be treated across borders. Kenyans who are facing difficulties registering their businesses in other partner states should contact the Ministry of East African Community and Regional Integration for assistance. Despite making this contact, they should ensure that they have complied with the laws of the country where they wish to do business. The issue of Kenyan truck drivers being harassed while in South Sudan is absurd and should be addressed. Residents of Muranga were encouraged to visit Eala headquarters in Arusha to present petitions on pressing issues they want addressed. They were also informed that Eala is there to legislate on their behalf. They should always present issues that they feel that the Assembly should legislate on. Kenyans should improve on the quality of the coffee that they produce to access the larger EAC market. Eala should organize meetings with the East African Business Council and ways of convincing Kenya Airways to lower the cost of travel within the region. Recommendation: there is urgent need to fully implement the Common Market Protocol to allow free movement of persons, goods, and services among the citizens of EAC. There is need to address issues of work permits so as to facilitate citizens of EAC who wish to work and trade in other partner states. The delegation recommends the implementation of Article 24 of the Common Market Protocol by establishing the Committee for Trade and Remedies. It oversees and ensures trade barriers within the region are amicably resolved. Partner states should ensure complete elimination of NTBs which negatively hinder trade within the EAC region. There is need for regular cross-border community meetings with key offices such as customs, revenue, and border security personnel, cross-border business stakeholders, cross-border associations, among others, to deliberate issues arising from the implementation of Customs Union and Common Market Protocol. Republic of Rwanda. Interaction with the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and EAC Cooperation. Members visited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation and interacted with the staff in charge of areas of EAC cooperation to familiarize themselves with the progress, benefits, and challenges of EAC integration. The areas of cooperation include agriculture and food security, education, science and technology, environment and natural resources management, and legal and judicial affairs, cooperation in EAC political peace and security, health and community development, trade, goods and services, industry and investment, cooperation in infrastructure, and cooperation in tourism and wildlife management. Specific achievements on the areas of EAC integration. 4 mutual recognition agreements have been signed to allow movement of professionals across the region. Rwandan students have benefited from the scholarships offered by the Inter-University Council of East Africa. However, more opportunities should be extended. Increased research and dissemination of research findings in science, technology, and innovation. Establishment of centers of excellence for promotion of science, technology, and innovation. Increased participation of Rwandan students in the EAC essay writing competition in secondary schools and EAC debate competition in universities. Participate in Jama festivals to promote Rwandan culture and heritage. Participation in East Africa Games, which fosters regional integration and solidarity among the people of East Africa. Free movement of persons by use of identity cards in the Northern Corridor. Kiswahili has been accorded the status of official language in Rwanda and is now being taught in schools. There is also emphasis in training of cross-border traders to facilitate communication. During the interaction, the following issues emerge. Partner states are implementing independent registration procedures for agrochemical and pesticides, thus resulting in long delays in the registration of exports of pesticides in the regional market. The agriculture docket at the EAC Secretariat is donor-funded, and more often, project implementation is affected by late remittances. The EAC should allocate resources to agricultural activities from partner states' contribution so as to make the sector self-reliant. It was noted that the regional food balance sheet is not functioning because it was funded by development partners, and whenever funds are used up, the program ends. It was also noted that universities in the United Republic of Tanzania charge more fees to non-Tanzanians compared to nationals, yet there should be uniformity in tuition fees for East African students. The mutual recognition agreements, which allow movement of professionals across the region, are not being implemented in some partner states. Non-harmonization of education standards, academic qualifications, and curriculum. The delegation observed in EAC the study of alignment is finalized but not implemented. The Republic of Rwanda and Uganda have submitted comments on the revised protocol on environment and natural resources management, while the Republics of Kenya, Burundi, and the United Republic of Tanzania requested for more time to further consult stakeholders at the national level on the revised protocol. It was also noted that a regional agency responsible for regulating drugs and medical services is lacking in the region to harmonize the national drug authorities. The implementation of regional activities in the area of gender, youth, children, disability, social protection, and community development has been affected by irregular sectoral council meetings. Lack of way bridges in Rwanda to facilitate the implementation of the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016. There is no regulation to facilitate the implementation of the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016. Out of the 5 regulations developed to support the implementation of the Act, 3 were approved by the Sectoral Council on Legal and Judicial Affairs, SCLJA, in February 2017 and were adopted by the Council in its 35th meeting held in April 2017. 2 regulations were deferred for further amendments before resubmission to the SCLJA. Need for speedy review to implement the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016. It was observed that some provisions of the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016 are due for amendment to accommodate new developments in the industry which are already agreed at the regional level, such as allowable maximum vehicle height of 4.6 from the current 4.3 and other parameters. There is lack of EAC road safety policy and road traffic regulations. Interaction with the Private Sector Federation. Members interacted with the Rwanda Private Sector Federation, which, among others, promotes and represents the interests of the Rwandan business community. The meeting was attended by clearing agents, transporters, cross-border traders, women in business, management, and staff of the Private Sector Federation. The following achievements were recognized. 1. The private sector commended the introduction of IDs as a national document and removal of roaming charges in the Northern Corridor. These initiatives have eased the movement of people and facilitated communication and doing business. Under single customs territory, the private sector appreciated the introduction of one-stop border points, the reduction of weighbridge and roadblocks from 17 to 4 in Kenya, 13 to 5 in Uganda, and from 20 to 3 in the United Republic of Tanzania. This has reduced the cost of doing business in terms of time and money. The challenges raised. Challenges related to issuance of work permits still exist in Kenya and the United Republic of Tanzania. It is challenging to register a company in United Republic of Tanzania. Transport of chemical products in some partner states is difficult even when transport certificates are issued. Transportation of heavy machines in Central Corridor roads is prohibited, while in the Northern Corridor is allowed when you have a license. Women claim that the standards of their production in arts are not recognized at EAC market. It was also observed that the Forum for EAC Women in Cross-Border Business is not communicating to stakeholders. Rwandan clearing agents cannot access customs systems of other partner states, such as Simba of Kenya and Tansis of United Republic of Tanzania. Transporters use COMESA insurance to carry goods along both corridors because of lack of an EAC insurance that would reduce the cost of doing business. It was observed that the United Republic of Tanzania does not implement the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016. She rather applies its national law, which is more restrictive to the movement of goods along the Central Corridor. It was observed that the private sector, in particular truck drivers, needed more awareness of the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016 to better understand maximum height, width, and loading changes for vehicle and other parameters. A courtesy called National Parliament. Eala members paid a courtesy called the Parliament of Rwanda, Chamber of Deputies, and held discussions with the Speaker and the 2 Deputy Speakers. The Speaker of the Parliament of Rwanda, Chamber of Deputies, the Right Honorable Kabalisa Donatil, and the 2 Deputy Speakers, Honorable Musa Fazil Hirerimana, in charge of Finance and Human Resources, and Honorable Ida Mukabagwiza, in charge of Legal Affairs, and control of government actions. The meeting focused on the following: enforcement of Article 65 of the Treaty for the establishment of the East African Community, sharing information at all stages of Eala legislation process. The Bureau committed to help in the mobilization on ratification and implementation of EAC laws through parliamentary diplomacy, through engagement with other national parliaments and other partner states. The Bureau promised to revise the regulations, the national parliament to compromise with the provisions of Article 65 of the treaty. The Bureau of Chamber of Deputies pledged to strengthen EAC sensitization activities. The Speaker of the Parliament of Rwanda, Chamber of Deputies, pledged continuous commitment and strengthening of the working relationship with Eala in a bid to promote the EAC integration agenda. Meeting with the Committee on Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Security. Members interacted with the Committee on Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Security. During the discussion, following issues were raised. There is need to strengthen the working relationship through regular engagements, meetings, and sensitization activities with the National Assembly. Members agreed to work on a concept note highlighting a framework of working together. It was noted that sharing of records and bills of the Assembly for information and laying on the table as provided for in Article 65 of the treaty is not enough. National parliaments should go beyond tabling of reports and bills and consider having limited debate that can culminate in recommendations. The interaction with youth. Members interacted with youth in the program dubbed Youth Connect Hangout under the theme of nurturing, promoting standards, seizing opportunities existing in EAC. The interaction was conducted at the University of Tourism, Technology and Business Management, UTB, by way of video conferencing and relayed at two sites located at the University of Rwanda, College of Agriculture, Veterinary Medicine, and the University of Technology and Arts, Byumba, UTAB, respectively. At each site, youth from different categories, including young entrepreneurs, students, innovators, youth in agribusiness, interacted with the panel composed of Eala members, Ministry of Youth, Rwanda Standard Board, and the National Industrial Research and Development Agency, NIRDA. Youth were briefed by members of Eala on different opportunities available in the East African community with regard to education, trade, and employment as they are anchored in the treaty, protocols, and acts of the community. The interaction was followed by 2,500 individuals and mainstreamed on YouTube. During the interaction, the following observations were made. The Minister for Youth emphasized on the benefits and opportunities available for youth in the EAC integration process, such as education, trade, and employment. The Minister encouraged youth to be active, exploit available opportunities in the region, and create quality products and services to compete in the region and in the global market. The youth were briefed by members of Eala on the different opportunities available in the East African community in relation to trade, education, employment, and social, as they are anchored in different protocols and agreements already signed. The youth hailed Eala Rwanda chapter for reaching out to them and sensitizing them about EAC integration and opportunities. TV talk show at the National Television Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, RBA. In collaboration with Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, a TV show on EAC integration was organized. The panel included representatives of Eala, private sector, and the media. Eala members utilized that platform to raise awareness on the integration process, the milestones undertaken so far, challenges and opportunities available for Rwandan citizens and the East African community in general. The private sector, on its part, shared practical examples of benefits and opportunities, especially single customs territory. This includes reduced NTBs in both northern and central corridors and increased intra-EAC trade. Despite the above-mentioned achievement, it was observed that there still exists some NTBs and new ones keep emerging. They also highlighted the issue of slow implementation of customs union and common market protocols, and small cross-border traders are also not well informed about the available opportunities and the EAC laws. General observation: Rwandan citizens in general have low awareness about the EAC integration process, its projects and opportunities. Stakeholders commended Eala for engaging various stakeholders on the gains and challenges of integration. They urged them to continue undertaking sensitization programs in the EAC partner states and sensitize them about the benefits of integration and the role of Eala. The NTBs have significantly decreased since the coming to effect of the Customs Union Protocol. However, they still exist and new ones are being introduced. It was further observed that there has not been harmonization of education, standards, academic qualifications, and curriculum across the EAC, although the study to align has finalized but not implemented. There is a need to establish a formal framework of relationship between Eala and the national parliaments to implement Article 49(2)(a) and 65 of the treaty establishing East African Community. Recommendations. There is an urgent need to harmonize pesticides registration procedures to enhance export of pesticides products to regional markets. There is need for the restoration of the regional food balance sheet, since it is an important tool for monitoring food security and production trends in the EAC region. Need to fast-track the implementation of harmonization of education standards, academic qualifications, and curriculum. The Republic of Burundi, the Republic of Kenya, and the United Republic of Tanzania should expedite the finalization of the Protocol on Environment and Natural Resources Management so that the region is able to address challenges of sustainable development at the national and regional levels through sound environment and natural resource management. The Council of Ministers should establish a regional body responsible for regulating medicines. There is urgent need to eliminate NTBs that hinder the full implementation of the Common Market Protocol. There is need to address issues of work permit to facilitate and to allow the free movement of persons and labor. There is an urgent need to harmonize insurance laws and establish an EAC insurance to address challenges encountered in the transport sector. Customs systems of partner states should be harmonized to facilitate access to clearing agents and reduction of the cost of doing business. There should be amendment of the two deferred regulations to facilitate the implementation of the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016. There is need to establish a formal framework of relationship between Eala and the National Parliament to implement Article 49(2) and Article 65 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. There is need to implement the EAC Vehicle Load Control Act 2016 in all EAC partner states. The EAC should allocate resources to agricultural activities from partner states' contributions. Republic of South Sudan. Minister of Trade, Investment and EAC delegation met with the acting undersecretary and staff members of the ministry. The following issues of concern were identified. There is lack of information and documentation about EAC, its organs and institutions. The laws of EAC have not been harmonized to laws of the Republic of South Sudan. This has made it difficult for the ministry to coordinate and facilitate of all activities of integration with other stakeholders in the country. The lack of sufficient knowledge on the certificate of origin as one of the most important documents to facilitate cross-border trade within East Africa. The traders continue to encounter internal non-tariff barriers, which has increased the cost of doing business in the country. Inadequate funding to facilitate EAC integration process. The video conference equipment, which is very important in linking the ministry to other EAC institutions, has not been reinstalled in the Directorate of EAC Affairs. Talk shows with Radio Miraya I and Bakita FM. Members conduct radio talk shows with Radio Miraya I and Bakita FM, and as a result, the following concerns were raised. First, the members enlightened the citizens on the stages of EAC integration process. This includes the 4 pillars, such as customs union, particularly the framework of single customs territory and OSBP. Common market, particularly the need for free movement of goods, people, services, labor, and capital. The monetary union, particularly the plan to establish the Monetary Institute and the Statistics Bureau as part of the institutions required before achieving single currency. The political federation, particularly the recently signed Protocol on Peace and Security and the process of EAC constitutional development involving the participation of all member states. Members also highlighted achievements of EAC, benefits of integration, and opportunities that exist in the regional bloc. Secondly, the members had an interactive session where the messages about EAC were conveyed. An opportunity was given to listeners to comment or ask questions. As a result, the following issues were noted and responded to. Whether the Republic of South Sudan has become a full member of EAC. The benefits that South Sudan accessed from EAC. The fears that citizens of other partner states will take over the business in the Republic of South Sudan. The fears that citizens of other partner states will take over the job market in the Republic of South Sudan. the obligations of the Republic of South Sudan as a member of EAC, and if these obligations are met. The need to have a sensitized South Sudanese about the integration agenda before the Republic of South could become a full member of EAC. Interactive session with other stakeholders. The team held an interactive session with the civil society organizations, universities, student leadership, women groups, media, chamber of commerce, farmers, business forum, and religious leaders. The following issues were noted. There is limited knowledge on the laws and regulations guiding the operations of the EAC integration pillars. For example, the women group said that they produce a lot of local products like Simsim and Lulu, which are on high demand within the partner states. However, they were not aware about the regional law that can necessitate them to explore the regional market. There was fear expressed about the loss of employment opportunity due to differences in the competitiveness of the labor force. Stakeholders expressed fears that free movement of labor would result in an influx of qualified persons into South Sudan from other partner states. Limited infrastructural development to link South Sudan with other partner states. Limited involvement of youth in the EAC programs. Communication gap between the population and EAC coordinating office. There was limited participation of the citizens of South Sudan during the negotiation period of the country to join the community. Participants were concerned about the country's manufacturing capacity for export, inadequate structures and policies that can improve business environment in South Sudan. There was concern about Kiswahili becoming an official language of the community since most citizens of South Sudan do not understand the language. The participants also raised concerns related to the e-passport that has eased movement of persons. Participants challenged members of Eala to also engage the grassroots citizens if they are to make an impact. Stakeholders were further concerned about the linkages between the Transitional National Legislative Assembly and Eala in terms of their working relations. Payment of visa fees to access other partner states, which is costly, thus affecting their movement within partner states. The youth were concerned about the withdrawal of hosting the interparliamentary games that were to be held in Juba in December 2018. Interactive session with Transnational Legislative Assembly. The meeting was attended by the Speaker of the Transnational Legislative Assembly, Right Honorable Anthony Lino Manaka, the Government Chief Whip, Acting Speaker of the Council of States, and the chairpersons of committees of both houses. The Speaker assured the delegation Parliament's commitment to consolidating and further strengthening working relations with Eala in a bid to promote the EAC integration agenda. He promised to send a committee on regional affairs to interact with the Assembly. The Speaker further undertook to direct the Committee on Legislation and Justice to work with Eala to harmonize the laws that need to be ratified or domesticated as a matter of urgency. Should be urgency. Members of the Transitional National Legislative Assembly expressed concern about the border conflict between Kenya and South Sudan that has emanated cattle rustling. Concerns were also raised on illegal logging within the country that has led to divested deforestation. They urged the Assembly to formulate legislation that will ensure participation of South Sudanese refugees who are scattered in EAC. It was further observed that there should be continuous engagement between Eala and the Transitional National Legislative Assembly, as well as the entire population of South Sudan, to update on the integration matters. Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. At the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, the Eala members met the Deputy Minister, Honorable Goch Makwach, and Director of Planning. The following issues were discussed. With regard to South Sudan's obligations and responsibilities towards contributing to the community where the country is in areas of up to $15 million, failure to make the remittance may result in the application of Article 143 and Article 146 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. The Minister informed the members that the country is going through tough economic times, which was caused by the internal conflict. However, he assured members that with a revitalized peace process ongoing, the economy will recover and the country will meet all its obligations and responsibilities to the community. Observations. The citizens of the Republic of South Sudan are not well informed about EAC integration process. The laws of EAC have not been disseminated despite the fact that citizens are enthusiastic about EAC integration. The roadmap for fast-tracking the Republic of South Sudan into the EAC integration process has not been accelerated. South Sudanese are very keen to know more about the EAC integration process. There are concerns about how South Sudanese benefit from the EAC integration process. There is a tendency to confuse the roles of Eala members with the roles of the National Parliament and the government. Recommendations. The EAC Affairs Coordination Office South Sudan should carry out more sensitization activities among the youth groups and civil society organizations. There should be continuous engagement between Eala members and the Transitional National Legislative Assembly. The Transitional National Legislative Assembly of the Republic of South Sudan should expedite the harmonization of the South Sudan laws to be in tandem with laws that have been passed by Eala. The government of South Sudan should endeavor to meet its obligations as enshrined in the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. In future, the Assembly should consider increasing the budget for sensitization to accommodate for grassroots participation. The government of South Sudan should include studies related to EAC in its curricula. There is need to develop an EAC strategy for skills development to enhance productivity through vocational training, science, and technology. There is need to develop scientific programs for unskilled labor and small-scale entrepreneurs. The EAC Secretary should expedite the rebranding processes of the emblems to include South Sudan. United Republic of Tanzania. The sensitization exercise started in the United Republic of Tanzania with a press briefing in Dar es Salaam. The chapter chair underscored the importance of media in disseminating the objectives of East African community integration, such as economic, social, and political benefit. The delegation urged the media to publicize widely the sensitization program. After the presentation from Eala, the following questions arose on the issue of trade dispute between Kenya and Tanzania. Regarding banning of chicks and confiscation of cattle, the chapter chair informed the press that the issue of trade barriers is between not only Kenya and Tanzania, but affects other partner states. However, partner states have continued to seek awareness of solving the trade disputes. Eala recommends the EAC Secretariat to implement Article 24 of the Customs Union Protocol by establishing the Committee for Trade and Remedies. This committee will be responsible to oversee and ensure trade barriers within the region are resolved. It was also noted that with regard to banning chicks at the Namanga border, export regulations require that animals and animal products crossing the border must have vaccination certificates. Those crossing with the animals must have an export license. The banned chicks did not meet those requirements. On the issue of Tanzania delaying the implementation of the EAC integration agreements and policies, Eala members informed that Tanzania has been on the forefront in implementing EAC agreements on time. Eala passed the EAC Monetary Institute Bill, of which the United Republic has already assented to. Regarding the political instability in some of the EAC partner states and measures Eala was undertaking to address the issues, members informed the press that one of the objectives of EAC is to ensure peace and security in the region. During the summit meeting held on 1st February 2019, heads of state agreed to ensure there is peace and harmony in the whole region. On the issue of delayed remittances by partner states, which caused the community to face liquidity challenges, members informed the media that during the February summit, the issue of remittances was top on the agenda, and it was agreed that each partner state should abide by the regulations by submitting their remittances on time. Field visit to Tanzania Port Authority. The delegation conducted a field visit to the Tanzania Port Authority and met with the management of the port and its stakeholders, including the Tanzania Freight Forwarders Association, TAFA, the Tanzania Revenue Authority, TRA, and Tanzania Transport Owners Association, TATOA. The management presented to members a presentation on the role of TPA in single customs territory, import cargo, and the role of TPA in single customs territory, export cargo. Members thereafter conducted a field visit to the port development project on the construction of a roll-on, roll-off terminal, which is meant to deepen the port's berth from 1 to 7 are being undertaken. Construction of 3 berths has been completed and the depth expanded from 8 meters to 14.8 meters deep. This will enable the port to accommodate larger vessels which can carry up to 19,000 containers. The port management informed the delegation that Dar es Salaam handles approximately 90% of Tanzania's seaborne import and export volume. It is the gateway to global trade and serves as a transit port for Burundi, DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, Zambia, and Malawi. The role of TPA in single customs territory is to facilitate trade and cargo movement through water was explained. After a presentation from the TPA and members' interaction, the audience was made the following observations. There is a need to harmonize and have common freight forwarding system, FFS, for the single customs territory within the region. Each country has its own different freight forwarding systems. Fragmentation of these systems within the EAC partner states creates a challenge to the freight forwarders to link together and ensure that freights are delivered on time. Rwanda is using Scuda++. Kenya uses Simba Next, while Tanzania uses a tailor-made system. These systems do not interlink to each other. There is need to urge EAC member states to harmonize and come up with a common freight forwarding system. Clearing freight agents have to pay PTA charges, TPA charges through the e-payment system. The cargo agents are registered in TPA systems. However, it was revealed that the current e-payment system delays the operation of clearing cargo from the port. The system delays issuing of invoice and corridor levy, which results in the delay of clearing cargo. There is lack of proper communication linkages between the EAC partner states' revenue authorities and the port authorities. The TPA serves as first point of entry to import cargo and last point of exit to export cargo into EAC partner states. There's a problem of language barrier in clearing freight. Some documents are in French, whereas others are in English or Swahili. This affects the time for clearing the cargo. Engagement with government and private sectors, National Monitoring Committee on Elimination of Non-Tariff Barriers, and national implementation of EAC Common Market. Members of Eala met with government agencies which include the Tanzania Food and Drugs Authority, Tanzania Bureau of Standard, Ofisi ya Rais, Tawala za Mikoa na Serikali za Mitaa, Energy and Water Utilities Regulatory Authority, and Tanzania Trade Development Authority, which are the members and stakeholders of the National Monitoring Committee on Elimination of Non-Tariff Barriers. The following issues emerged. The audience made the following observations. The proliferation of regulatory bodies and agencies among the major NTBs frustrating trade. For instance, there have been double charges between FDA and TBS when checking the quality of standards of products. The two agencies have the same function to ensure traders adhere to international food safety and quality standards, and yet the two regulatory bodies are working together to harmonize the standards and quality of products produced within the country. Existence of many traders who deal in different agricultural produce. Traders have to seek different import and export licenses for each commodity. Members were informed about two bodies that carry out this mandate. They were also informed that there was a blueprint underway to combine all the licenses of agricultural products and to establish a single license that will be subject to all agricultural produce. Members were informed that plans are underway to establish country border hubs to assist traders from landlocked countries not to travel long distances to get commodities. The courtesy call to TIMEA, the Trademark East Africa. The delegation paid a courtesy call to the Office of Trademark East Africa in Dar es Salaam and appreciated the role of TIMEA. TIMEA aims to support national level implementation of the EAC integration process. Their strategy is to increase trade in East Africa by increasing physical market access, enhance trade environment, and increase business competitiveness within the EAC region. Emerging issues. Members were informed that TIMEA has been supporting the Tanzania Bureau of Standards in terms of standard development, harmonization, and enforcement. This has reduced the overall testing costs by 54% in the region. The cost has reduced from $500 to $205, where 170 standards relating to 40% of the key top 20 products traded across the EAC region have been harmonized. Most NTVs resolved and unresolved covered between 2016 to 2018 fall under the Customs and Administrative Entry Procedures category. Few or no NTVs have been recorded under sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Specific limitations, charges on imports and other procedural problem categories. There were persistent NTBs in 2016 and 2017, including non-harmonized road and user charges, lack of coordination among the numerous institutions involved in testing and clearance of goods and at borders, existence of several weighbridges, stations, and roadblocks in the central and northern corridors. These NTBs were reported as resolved in 2016 and have not reappeared. lack of complementarity between intra-EAC imports and exports. The development of economic integration is determined by the presence of complementary economic structures. The EAC regional integration intra-trade is challenged by lack of complementarities of export and imports, as well as the relative competitive position of East African potential export suppliers. Engagement with staff and students of the EAC of the University of Dar es Salaam. Members gave a background of Inter-University Council of East Africa and explained to academicians the objective of the council, which is to facilitate networking among universities in East Africa. After a presentation by the members, the audience made the following observation. They wish to see tangible gains resulting from the membership of Tanzania in EAC with regard to education opportunities and employment. They needed more clarification on harmonization of school fees. They asked if South Sudan and Somalia were members of EAC and how the community handles conflict that is ongoing in these two countries. Engagement with civil society and private sector organizations. Eala members met with members of the civil societies. Members gave an overview of the EAC Persons with Disabilities Bill and added that the EAC partner states have policies in place to mainstream issues concerning people with disabilities, both the national and regional level. The EAC recognizes the need to empower persons with disabilities, women, youth, and elderly in line with the provisions of Article 120C of the treaty. Radio and television shows. Eala members interacted with the media, including the EATV, EA East African Radio, Milimani Radio, Milimani TV, Azam TV, Deshuvela, and conducted talk shows to inform the public about process of EAC integration. Recommendations. Eala, as one of the main organs of the community, recommends the EAC Secretariat to implement Article 24 of the Customs Union Protocol by establishing the Committee for Trade and Remedies. This committee will be responsible to oversee and ensure trade barriers within the region are resolved. There is need to harmonize and have a common freight forwarding system for the single customs territory within the region. There is a need for TPA to establish a system that is fast and which can accommodate several numbers of requests, especially on issuing invoice and corridor levies. There is need to develop a proper communications linkage among the EAC revenue authorities that can facilitate the smooth running of the import and export cargo within the region. There is a need to encourage EAC partner states to adopt the official EAC language as per Article 137 of the treaty. There is a need to create single window EAC electronic system to act as a single one-stop customs agency, which can accommodate all the agency requests within the region and the clearing and forwarding processes. Tanzania Freight Forwarders Association, TAFA, a key stakeholder, recommended to Eala members to voice their concerns on the challenges encountered to ensure all policies are beneficial to Tanzania and all other partner states. Tanzania Food and Drug Authorities and Tanzania Bureau of Standards signed an MOU where TFDA should use TBS laboratory results in issuing approval, license, and vice versa. There is need to fast-track the harmonization and implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding. The United Republic of Tanzania should complete the blueprint of license harmonization on agriculture products and fast-track the process in order to elucidate this problem. I think it's to eliminate this problem. The issue of work permits is still a major challenge. Therefore, there is a need for the EAC to clarify on this issue. The United Republic of Tanzania should improve on the bureaucratic policies of issuing licenses and permit to traders exporting agricultural products. Stakeholders urge the EAC and its partner states to implement Article 24 of the Common Market Protocol on the elimination of restrictions on the free movement of capital and to establish a Committee on Trade and Remedies. The EAC was urged to consider coming up with laws that do not conflict with the Southern African Development Community SADC policies when establishing EAC laws and protocols to avoid conflict of interest between EAC and SADC. There is a need to recreate infrastructure that enhances intra-EAC trade and further regional integration agenda. The EAC Secretariat should fast-track the process of enacting the EAC Youth Council Bill to allow better representation of youth in the society. There is need for EAC to have a special version of the EAC Treaty for people with visual impairment and a forum for people with disability that allow them to fully participate in the integration process. Tanzania youth should engage in agriculture and modernize the old systems of farming. Republic of Uganda, Ministry of Finance, Planning and economic development. The delegation held an interactive engagement with the agencies and ministries which are performing a lead role in the integration process. The issues raised include a full implementation of the customs union and the common market protocols, which are critical prerequisites to the success of an East African Monetary Union, are yet to be realized pending the complete elimination of all NTVs. The EAC Common Market Scorecard of 2016 revealed existence of 20% of NTVs still in existence among partner states. The attainment and maintenance of macroeconomic convergence targets is lacking, which is likely to delay the implementation of a monetary union. Weak surveillance and compliance mechanisms on the attainment of convergence criteria. An unsustainable financing mechanism for the EAC. Many partner states are not making timely remittances to the EAC. This poses a challenge to the efficient and effective implementation of the EAC mandate. Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperative. Minister of Trade briefed the delegation and member about steps it has undertaken in minimizing NTVs. These include the ministry is implementing a 2008 directive by the East African Community Sectoral Council of Ministers on Trade and Industry, Finance and Investment in developing a time-bound program for elimination of NTVs in line with CUP. The ministry has complied with the EAC Sectoral Council directive to ensure that the National Monitoring Committee are in place to facilitate trade activities and regularly attend EAC quarterly meetings for the elimination of NTVs. The ministry also reported that although elimination of NTVs Act 2017 came into force in July 2017, it has continued to face challenges of weak enforcement mechanisms and the existence of lags in the policy and legislative framework. This became difficult to enforce sanctions for non-compliance by partner states. The ministry has put in place following measures: a national response strategy on elimination of NTVs, has established an NTB reporting system which was launched on the 31st July 2014, realigned national laws and regulations to comply with the NTB Act 2017, developed and implemented an NTB elimination communication and advocacy strategy. It has, however, reported the following challenges towards the elimination of NTBs: mutating form of NTBs among partner states, non-harmonized road user fees among partner states, non-recognition of rules of origin by some partner states, weak publication and appreciation of the NTB reporting and monitoring system, non-harmonized reporting codes in the region that have made the timely receipt of some complaints difficult. Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education and Sports informed the delegation and members that they are implementing the EAC Common Higher Education Area, which is a geographic area that brings together sovereign states with mutual interests and common goals. It has the following specific objectives: adoption of a system of easily readable and comparable qualifications, facilitation of a system of credits as a proper means of promoting students' mobility, promotion of mobility by overcoming obstacles to effective exercise of free movement, promotion of cooperation in higher education, particularly with regard to curricular development and harmonization of academic programs, interinstitutional cooperation, mobility schemes, training systems, and research. The ministry informed the delegation that he has attained the following achievements towards implementation of the EAC Common Higher Education: has developed a higher education qualification framework for the EAC through the Inter-University Council of East Africa. This means that qualifications attained within the EAC are recognized in Uganda. In collaboration with the National Council of Higher Education, it has developed a number of benchmarks in support of the IUC, Inter-University Council of Education guidelines for a competency-driven curriculum. Has maintained a database of qualifications obtained within the EAC through its verification and equating process, which enables the EAC ministry in Uganda to determine the students' movements. It has continued to support Inter-University Council of Education on peer assessment of both the institutional and programmatic structures to provide confidence in the EAC Common Higher Education area. It regularly participates in the joint inspections of academic facilities together with the sister agencies within EAC to assess and determine the convergence on the trainings within EAC Common Higher Education area. It is actively supporting the students and staff exchange programs within EAC institutions of learning, and it has undertaken measures to harmonize fees, charges in higher education institutions for all East African students. However, the ministry reported the following challenges in implementing EAC Common Higher Education program. Private universities are still reluctant to charge uniform fees. Harmonization of fees is still a challenge given the varying status of the partner states. Students from other partner states benefit from subsidized fees in Uganda, but Ugandan students do not get that benefit given that fees in some partner states are based on market forces. Uganda National Bureau of Standards. The delegation interacted with the Uganda National Bureau of Standards and UNBS, whose mission is to provide standard measures measurements and conformity assessments, assessment services for improved quality. UNBS informed the delegation about the achievement attained in harmonizing standards within EAC, reported that they have recorded the following: harmonization of 1,400 standards, of which Uganda has domesticated and adopted 75% of the total number. They have implemented mutual recognition marks for certification in each partner state. They have simplified the trade. They have simplified trade regime for border communities to facilitate small traders who regularly transact in low-value consignments. They have developed EAC information sharing portal through which partner states are sharing information on certification status of goods and other issues related to standards. They have established an ease cooperation among partner state authorities in ensuring compliance. However, the delegation was informed that the following challenges still exist: limited number of staff, which in turn limits UNBS capacity for inspection; inadequate laboratory facilities; delays in clearance of goods, which impedes smooth trade; high quality assurance cost amid limited funding; and lack of capacity for frequent and extensive sensitization program on standards. Uganda Communications Commission. The delegation interacted with Uganda Communications Commission, UCC, a government regulatory body mandated to licensing, regulation, communications, infrastructure development, and expansion of rural communication services. UCC informed the delegation that they have attained the following achievements in enhancing communication within the EAC partner states. One, it is harmonizing EAC roaming framework to ensure that it only applies to traffic originating and terminating within EAC partner states. It is ensuring that traffic originating and terminating within EAC should be exempted from international traffic surcharges. It has established and maintained systems to prevent traffic fraud and illegal call determination. The delegation was informed that the implementation of one area network has encountered the following challenges: the tax harmonization disadvantaged countries originally with higher taxation regimes; creation of permanent roamers due to zero tariffs on received calls, which reduces revenues for MNOs. Uganda Revenue Authority. Uganda Revenue Authority informed the delegation and members the steps made in implementing the Single Customs Territory SCT at tripartite level. They further informed the delegation that the SCT aims at removing all restrictive regulations and minimizing internal border controls on goods moving between the partner states, with an ultimate realization of free circulation of goods. In its efforts to implement the SCT, URA has undertaken the following: one, drafted the business processes, put in place systems interfaces with partner states, revenue authorities, and other key stakeholders, established URA offices in Kenya and Tanzania, partnered in the mutual recognition of agents in the region, held stakeholder engagements including Kenya Port Authority, importers, exporters, agents, banks, and transporters, which has led to realization of the following benefits to EAC stakeholders: single lodgement of customs declarations at first point of entry, reduced cost of doing business by eliminating duplication of processes, e.g. cost of documentation and transport costs, reduced transit time from 18 to 2 to 3 days from Kampala, and from 21 to 45 days for Kigali, enhanced compliance to customs procedure, enhanced application of information technology and data collection at the regional level, removal of cash bonds, faster decision-making due to improved working relationships between the revenue authorities and other cargo interveners, efficient revenue management, payment of port charges at country of destination, facilitation of Ugandan exports, especially coffee, improved support of Ugandans and other citizens at the port. URA reported the following challenges in implementation of SCT: non-adherence to agreed procedure by other revenue agencies, such as mutual recognition of clearing agents, fallback mechanisms, among others; high road user cost, limited funds to support adequate deployment, and poor data exchange systems between revenue authorities. Members of Parliament of Uganda. The delegation interacted with members of Parliament of Uganda who expressed the following concerns on the integration process of EAC. One, the urgent need for sustainable funding mechanisms for EAC. This is hindering the progress of integration. Lack of a sustainable funding mechanism for EAC is affecting the integration process. There is lack of streamlined coordination between EAC and the National Parliament and other local MDAs These are ministries, departments, and agencies of government implementing EAC programs and activities. For example, official reports on integration hardly reach the relevant stakeholders. Lack of sensitization and awareness of EAC on the mandate, activities, plans, and institutional structures of the EAC. They expressed their dissatisfaction at the infrequent and limited outreach and scope of Eala sensitization campaigns on the progress of the EAC integration. Slow implementation of Eala resolutions and summit directives. It was noted that whereas the summit and Eala had issued a number of directives in form of protocols to guide the community towards the envisaged political federation, a number of these had not been implemented by different partner states. Mixed partner states' commitment towards a successful integration process. It was noted that whereas the government of Uganda executive seemed to be fully committed to a federated East Africa, some partner states seem to lag behind. It was noted that Uganda is extending a number of original citizen reserve privileges to all East Africans, which other partner states had not done. Whereas other non-Ugandan East Africans were able to buy and own land in Ugandans are unable to do the same in other partner states. This in addition to other freedoms East Africans enjoy in the country that Ugandans cannot enjoy in other partner states. Failure to implement the customs union and common market protocols. The members expressed concerns that whereas there were benefits accruing to partner states as a result of the integration process, the decision to embark on realizing a political federation was rushed, given that partner states have not fully implemented earlier critical protocols like the customs union, common market protocols, and NU. It should be MU, not NU, monetary union. Continued existence of non-tariff barriers in the region. Members noted that whereas partner states had resolved to eliminate non-tariff barriers in the region, these barriers to free trade persist in different forms within the region. Particularly highlighted were non-harmonized road user fees, cases on harassment at cross-border points against women traders, and multiple roadblocks encountered by other citizens moving across borders within the region, in which they are alleged to having been fleeced of bribes. There are also reports of Ugandan importers being required to pay SACCO fees for transporting goods from Kenya to Uganda, despite not being members. The need to harmonize interest rates within the region. Members pointed out that cheaper credit in other partner states have presented a disadvantage to Ugandan traders, especially those trading around the borders. The need to fast-track the common market border program. Members observed that Ugandans doing cross-border trade were being unduly targeted as smugglers. This is due to the lack of regional revenue authority bodies, official pronouncement, and public sensitization on which volumes and category of goods qualify for import classification. And those volumes and categories allowed for the cross-border market. Lack of an integrated database and insufficient data on key regional integration areas. The members pointed out that there was insufficient data to guide planning for the region in key areas of trade, immigration, and security. Work permits and visa fees. Members were disappointed at the failure of the EAC to enforce its earlier protocols and commitments towards the abolition of work permits and visa fees. Members expressed concerns that whereas Kiswahili has been chosen as one of the regional official languages, efforts to popularize the language through trainings and adoption in Uganda's communication infrastructure were still minimal. A number of Ugandans still do not speak the language, let alone have an interest in learning the dialect, despite the existence of the East African Swahili Commission, an EAC institution created and mandated to ensure that the language is taught and used as an official language in the region. The East African e-passport. Members noted the non-uniform fees charged in the different partner states and the seemingly long and bureaucratic process leading to the acquisition of the passport. Recommendations. Recommends to the Assembly to urge Council to increase sensitization activities about the process of the integration and the EAC mandate to gather commitment and appreciation of regional efforts among the citizens who are key stakeholders to the process. More emphasis should be put on deepening the private sector contribution towards integration. The business communities, the professional bodies, and the civil society, farmers, and education should be stronger champions of the integration process. Strengthen and regularize cross-border community meetings, combining the customs department, revenue authorities, and border security personnel. The business stakeholders at the border, including women business associations, clearing and forwarding agents, and transporters, should also be mobilized, then dialogue on emerging issues and resolution of any conflict between them. To increase coordination avenues between the EAC Secretariat, its organs and institutions, and the local legislating bodies of the different partner states. This is to empower local legislature in the oversight of EAC projects and programs taking place in the region. This should be done through regular briefs, reporting, and constant communication to fast-track the implementation of EAC programs and to ensure that integration is people-centered. Eala should explore mechanisms to ensure amicable relationships between partner state border authorities at all times and allow for increased trade across the region. Local leadership like commissioners, resident leaderships, and MPs along borders constituencies should form stronger communication systems to facilitate faster and smooth movement of goods and traffic along the borders. EAC should consider instituting a more sustainable funding mechanism that could include charging an import levy of, say, 0.01% on imports into the region to facilitate financing of the community. An audit of the EAC protocols and their evaluation, and the production of compliance report to determine the provisions which are the actual implementation in the different partner states, to chart ways of ensuring full compliance by all partner states. There is need to institute more practical and binding mechanisms to remove the remaining 20% NTBs to allow for more trade, which will increase taxes, incomes, and other benefits. The Council should urge Summit to fast-track the signing of the pending protocols and implementation of Summit directives in their respective states, embark on the design of an EAC integrated database to act as a centrally coordinated hub for critical data needed in the planning process for trade, immigration, and security in the region. Liaise with partner states immigration authorities to harmonize fees for the East African e-passport to make it affordable for all East Africans, to ensure efficient movement of the community's citizens within and without the region. Fast-track the adoption of Kiswahili as the region's official language by integrating training into partner state curricula, as well as ensuring that partner states adopt its use in their official communication systems. Put more emphasis to deepen the private sector-driven integration. The business community, farmers, organizations, students, bodies, the religious, ecumenical institutions, the professional bodies, and civil society, to ensure that the private sector takes a leading role to champion the integration. General findings. There is limited awareness and visibility about the EAC integration processes and programs. There is inadequate participation and lack of involvement of key stakeholders in the process of integration, and yet Article 7 obliges partner states to adopt the principle of subsidiarity with emphasis on multi-level participation and involvement of a wide range of stakeholders in the process of integration. Existence of unharmonized education system and fee structures in all partner states. Article 126B of the treaty directs all partner states to harmonize their national laws pertaining to the community as one of the critical steps required to facilitate regional integration. However, a number of critical legislation necessary for integration agenda are yet to be harmonized. It was further noted that there is law process involved in assent of the laws being passed by Eala. Is it the same? I'll beg your indulgence. Let me go back to general findings. General finding. There is limited awareness and visibility about the EAC integration processes and programs. Unharmonized user fees making transport in some partner states uncompetitive. Unharmonized domestic taxes, such as those on dairy products. The Trade Remedies Committee has never been operationalized to handle trade-related challenges among the partner states. Unharmonized working hours at border posts. Some borders do not operate on 24/7 basis. Lack of interconnectivity of systems. The port and the customs systems are not synchronized with some partner states. Non-recognition of rules of origin for originating goods when transferred within the EAC region, such as edible oil, sugar, and rice. There is inadequate participation and lack of involvement of key stakeholders in the process of integration, and yet Article 7 obligates partner states to adopt the principle of subsidiarity with emphasis on multi-level participation and involvement of wide range of stakeholders in the process of integration. Existence of an harmonized education system and fee structures in all partner states. Article 126 of the treaty directs all partner states to harmonize their national laws pertaining to the community as one of the critical steps required to facilitate regional integration. However, a number of critical legislation necessary for integration agenda are yet to be harmonized. It was further noted that the process of assent of laws passed by Eala is slow. Article 137 of the treaty directs partner states to develop Kiswahili as a lingua franca of the community. However, the delegation observes the growing interest of participants and other key stakeholders in embracing the learning of Kiswahili. Besides promoting unity among EAC population, Kiswahili is a medium of communication that will facilitate trade and enhance integration in the region. Article 75 1C obligates the partner states to establish a customs union, among which the details included in the protocol, the elimination of non-tariff barriers, among others. However, the existence of NTBs in the region has persistently affected the trade flows and reduction of the benefits to be gained in regional integration process. The EAC Non-Tariff Barriers Act is not being implemented, thus continued imposition of NTBs in the region. Article 132(4) of the treaty compels all partner states to fund the budget of the community by equal contribution and resist from regional and international resources as may be determined by the Council. It is apparent that the delayed or non-remittances by partner state contribution has affected the implementation of EAC integration agenda. Article 76(1) of the treaty stipulates that there shall be free movement of labor, goods, and services. However, it was observed that there is still existence of trade disputes and disharmony among partner states regarding the access of markets and within partner states. Recommendations of the Assembly to Council. Recommendation on matters of common market protocol. There is need for a robust sensitization program targeting schools, institutions, higher learning, or schools of higher learning, private sector, civil society, religious organs to drive the message of integration across the region. The Assembly recommends the Council to fast-track the implementation of harmonization of education standards, academic qualifications, and curriculum. There is urgent need to fully implement the Common Market Protocol to allow free movement of persons, goods, and services among the citizens of EAC. There is need to address issues of work permits so as to facilitate citizens of EAC who wish to work and trade in other partner states. Customs systems of partner states should be harmonized to improve communication and facilitate access to clearing agents and reduction of the cost of doing business. Partner states should undertake deliberate and concrete measures geared towards complete elimination of NTBs, which negatively affect regional trade programs. There is need for regular cross-border community meetings with key offices such as customs, revenue, and border security personnel, cross-border business stakeholders, cross-border associations, among others, to deliberate issues arising from the implementation of customs union and common market protocol. The Assembly recommends to the EAC Secretariat to implement Article 24 of the Customs Union Protocol by establishing the Committee for Trade and Remedies. This committee will be responsible to oversee and ensure trade barriers within the region are resolved. Acknowledgement. The respective chapter delegations would like to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Office of the Clerk for all the support extended to undertake this very, very important exercise. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I want to thank you for listening. This is the report of 4th Eala on sensitization activity held within the EAC partner states from the 1st to the 6th of February 2016. I beg to submit. Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable George Odongo, for the resilient way you have read the report. And I thank the members for their attentiveness. Honorable members, I think our visitors from Nairobi are already in the gallery. May I welcome Honorable Reverend Canon Grace Kaiso from Council of Anglican Provinces of Africa. He is accompanied by Mr. Peter Munene, Dr. Patrick Mbugwa, and Mr. Vitalis Mukebi. We welcome you very much. Thank you for your time and your presence. May I also introduce my own visitor. You know, I went to national service, Jeshi la Kujenga Taifa. And those who were there know that it's a place where you make a very unique experience. And I made a friend there who has ever since continued to connect with me. And he's here to see how I am doing my best to do what I'm doing. Honorable Mr. Aniswari Kachwamba, thank you for being here. I know there is a member who is his neighbor here, Dr. Makame. Thank you. Honorable members, the motion before the House is that the report of the 4th East African Legislative Assembly on the sensitization activity held in the EAC partner states be adopted. The debate is open. Honorable Dr. Ngwaru, Honorable Dr. Makame, Honorable Kasamba, Honorable Kimbisa, Honorable Aden, Dr. Woda, Honorable Claude. This is a very important report. We shall all have the opportunity to debate it. It doesn't matter how long it will take. Thank you. In that order, then we shall pick another speaking order. Dr. Ngwaru.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me this time to lend my voice on this issue. First, I would also like to congratulate the presenter for presenting a long report. I have some experience in presenting these long reports, and I think he will make a very good accounts chair in the very near future. Secondly, I would like to tell the House, Honorable Speaker, that I think that this is our most important activity. Even if we spend the remainder of our 3 years, 9 months, 2 days, and 6 hours doing only sensitization, we will not have wasted our time. It will be a job well done, especially for the youth. And then I'm on record in this house for saying numerous times that we need to indoctrinate the youth the same way the Chinese do their children, to love the EAC, to love their peoples, to remove these borders which have been put upon us by our former colonial masters. And I always give an example of how it works. I often tell the Honorable Speaker and Mr. Makame, Dr. Makame, that when I was young and I would go to primary school, my father would drive me to school every morning before he goes to work. And every morning we would sing Chama cha Mapinduzi songs. Chama chetu cha Mapinduzi, chajenga nchi, chama. So now you find that the moment I turn 16, I'm a Youth League member, I'm a CCM member, I'm a National Council member, I'm a member in the districts. Until now here, I'm now 35, I'm an MP of CCM. So we need to start with our youth young so that they can do better than what we have done. As you, with the members who were with me when we went to the University of Dar es Salaam, a good job has already been done. The kids understand what the EAC is all about. They were asking intelligent questions, and I was actually telling Pamela, if we had not read well, we would have embarrassed ourselves here today, because these kids are enthusiastic. They see it as a market not only for jobs, but also for business. So it's well on its way. I think this is our most important activity. And I would like to thank the Speaker and the Secretariat for making time in our plan to do this. We're doing this session, and we're doing another one before the end of the financial year. So I think that's really good. Now, to go into the report, there were a few things that I thought that I should talk about. One is the issue of cat Mirungi, and it was well articulated that in Tanzania, Mirungi is an illegal produce. But even in the United States, you will find where there is proper integration. Some states allow marijuana, and some states do not. I have the exact states here. 10 states out of 51 have legalized marijuana for recreational use and medical use. And 23 states have only legalized it for medicinal use. So the other states have refused to legalize marijuana in any capacity, and that is normal. We want to integrate, we want to be together, but we have to have, there are some issues that, some sovereignty should be allowed. But I am sure, being that we have a great lobbyist on Mirungi in the House, Honorable Aburi General, I'm sure he can lobby the members of Parliament in Tanzania, and maybe one day it may be legalized. Thank you. And as for the issue of the Kenyans finding it difficult to get work permits in Tanzania, on the 25th of August, while addressing some investors in Dar es Salaam, the Deputy Minister for Labor, Honorable Anthony Mavunde, a very good friend of mine, we were in the Youth League together for more than 12 years, he said that they have put in place a system, an electronic application system now, that if you have all of the paperwork that is required, you should be able to get your work permit within 2 weeks. And for member states, even within 7 days, you should be able to get your work permit. So the issue is not, there aren't some people sitting in a room and saying, oh, no, these Kenyans, no, we're not giving them work. No. The issue is an issue of having all the right paperwork and documentation, and you will get your work permit. Honorable Speaker, these were the two issues that I thought that I should touch on. I know that this is a very, very important topic. I don't want to waste the House's time. When you give a politician the mic, he may run away with it. So I would like to thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the time again. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Makame?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like also to join hands with my colleague, Honorable Dr. Magembe, to commend my brother, Honorable Odongo, for presenting well the report of the 6 partner states, the chapters which visited the 6 partner states to conduct sensitization. And Mr. Speaker, we'd like to really thank you and the Office of the Clerk for facilitating this important work. It was indeed very important. We touched base with the people whom we are representing here in this House, and everyone cannot have the opportunity to come and speak here. So we are speaking here on their behalf, Mr. Speaker. That said, Mr. Speaker, one thing that really emerged, and I'm glad that also in the general recommendations it is also coming, is the issue on activation of Article 24 of the Customs Union Protocol regarding establishment of the Committee for Trade and Remedies. And this has come because we have seen non-tariff barriers really being the issues which are affecting East Africans. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, these microphones are very sensitive, so may I request that you put your phones away from them because they are interfering with the sound system. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'd really like the Council to pronounce on this issue of activation of the Committee for Trade and Remedies. It is very important. We've been talking about this at least in the past 2 or 3 plenaries, and it would be in order, Mr. Speaker, if the Council Chair or any member from the Council would say what is the way forward. Just pronounce it to this House, because it is for the benefit of our integration, it is for the benefit of East Africans, and it is for the benefit of the Council itself, because the Council is actually engaging in some work which is not in their, I wouldn't say their mandate, but it has been legally mandated to that committee by the Customs Union Protocol in Article 24. Mr. Speaker, the second one I'd like to also touch and emphasize so that the Council also make a pronunciation is on amendment of the treaty, specifically on Article 137 with regards to the language. You've had the presenter making a presentation and talking about Kiswahili. We spoke in the first plenary we ever had as this assembly, we spoke about Kiswahili. And we raised it because we said East Africa is where Kiswahili is spoken. Also, other regions in other countries they speak Kiswahili, but East Africa is the home of Kiswahili. But Kiswahili is spoken is regarded as an official language in the African Union and not here at home in East Africa. And I was asking my brother, Dr. Magembe, one day, is it the story that you hear that the prophets are not accepted in their homes, but recognized outside their homes? So that is something which really bothers us, because in the AU, Kiswahili is recognized, but in the ESC, the Kiswahili has not been yet an official language. So if the Council would really, when they come to make some of the comment on this report, maybe if they can touch on that as well. Mr. Speaker, the report is very long, as you have seen. It talks on issues of security, it talks on issues of work permits, it talks on issues of identity card to be used as travel documents. But these issues, if I recall well, there were also issues which were covered in the Common Market Protocol. And it's really, the ministers can make a statement about this, but as far as I'm aware, is that with regards to work permits and other permits, there was a commitment by partner states to harmonize work permit forms, fees, and procedures. And that was one of the pending areas which was supposed to be concluded in negotiations of the Common Market Protocol. And sadly, that has not been done yet. And it will be in order if the Council can make a pronunciation about that. Mr. Speaker, also noted on page 9 of the report, item number 9, in the issue of motor vehicle transporters from the Republic of Burundi, have been given short notice to replace their super single tires on their lorries. Mr. Speaker, as we are now here, we are East African community, but again, a few years ago, the summit of the East African community decided to have what we call the EAC SADC COMESA tripartite. And that one was signed in 2014 in Egypt. And some of them, they call it the Cape to Cairo, or the Grand Tripartite, the Tripartite Grand Trade Area, Grand Free Trade Area. So, Mr. Speaker, if you are having countries from one region, maybe in the SADC, and they have a different rule, or they apply different regulation with regards to road. And then in East Africa, we come and apply another regulation which is not compatible to the one in SADC. This one brings a bit of a problem, and much as our excellencies, the member of the summit, have endeavored to say that we should be working together and we should move together as Africa, and towards that direction, they decided to ignite the tripartite. Now, what we are seeing is that there's a bit of a problem there with regards to that issue reported by the sensitization activity that took place in the Republic of Burundi. And with that as well, Mr. Speaker, I saw some newspapers also reporting that there's some cargo which has been diverted. It's not going to go through the Dar es Salaam port anymore, and they are going towards the Beira port, cargo from Zambia, and also cargo from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, if we are supposed to really be in harmony and move together, at least we should be watchful of that, and to try to make everything connected. So, Mr. Speaker, if the Council of Ministers who are here today with us, if they can talk about that in their summation, that will very much be appreciated. Elsewhere, Mr. Speaker, there's an issue what was reported by the Republic of Burundi on page 8, item number 8, and it talks about the Arusha Longido and the Babati Singida, issues of way bridges there. Mr. Speaker, as far as I'm informed, at least I would say that, Burundi and Rwanda, the official Central Corridor route is the one which runs from Dar es Salaam. It goes to Morogoro, Dodoma, Manyoni, Singida, all the way to Kahama, and then Nyakanazi to Rusumo and Kabanga. Now, with these other areas like Babati, Arusha, these are not considered to be the areas of Central Corridor, and it wouldn't be, unless we want to say the entire thing is now Central Corridor, and that one would be a bit, difficult to manage, because at least, there's some domestic traffic which needs to be controlled. So if the transporters go into some area which is not the Central Corridor, and it is considered a domestic area, then the domestic rules should be applying, because these roads were constructed and they need to be maintained, and at least there's some issues of security and other things which are associated with those checks and balances we apply.
Information. Information.
Honorable Dr. Makame, are you taking the information?
I'm taking it, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Mariam.
Thank you very much, Your Right Honorable Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Makame, for giving me way. I didn't want to contribute, but I just wanted to add information where Dr. Makame is explaining on the same page, on the same issue on number 8. And this shows importance also of our partner states to understand the laws that we are passing in the regional law, because the same issue is also dealing with number 9, where it says that the Tanzania government gave Burundi transporters a very short notice to replace super single tires. On the same way that all roads in the partner state need to be protected, in the same way that United Republic of Tanzania is protecting its roads, because some of these roads is actually funded by Tanzania itself to be built. We asked before to get funding for maintenance of roads because it's used widely in East Africa. But we have a vehicle axle load law, which is a EAC law, which is protecting roads, which is giving limits to the large vehicle to have certain types of tires. So these are not Tanzania restricted laws that restrict trade. These are EAC law. Here Tanzania is using EAC law to protect the roads. I thank you, and I thank Dr. Makame.
Thank you, Honorable Mariam.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mariam, for the information. Mr. Speaker, elsewhere, Mr. Speaker, there was an issue, but I think my brother, Dr. Ngwaru, ably addressed that, the issue of CAT. Actually, Mr. Speaker, you know, CAT is one of the products which comply to the rules of origin of the East African community, because it is wholly produced, 100%. It's like any other agricultural product which is wholly produced. But again, Mr. Speaker, on the other hand, we have another product which is also, it complies to the rules of origin and it is wholly produced. If you talk about cannabis, so it is wholly produced. But again, the national laws and the classification differ. So, Mr. Speaker, what I would think is, you know, our colleagues at the ministerial level, if you look here, just yesterday, the council member from the Republic of Kenya was here, and the council member from the United Republic of Tanzania is here. If there are some issues which are really, you know, held to heart, then the council members can have a tete-a-tete and move them forward. And also, if that council level is not sufficient and things are not working, even the summit members, they are in very good terms and they can really push this. But here, this assembly, I don't think we have much, because we are just legislating on issues relating to EAC law. Mr. Speaker, lastly,
yes, try and conclude your remarks.
Yes, lastly, before I go away, Mr. Speaker, I understand I'm consuming a lot of time. I see there was a bit of, you know, what they're saying is highlighting in the report. And this thing which, these are issues which are not very, I think, I don't hold them to be very pertinent. I look at the issues which are very material in a report, and unfortunately this passed me when I was skimming and going through the report, but I note there are some few areas in the report of the Republic of Tanzania which has been highlighted, not highlighted by being highlighted and bolded, but I note that it says the chapter chair underscored the importance. The chapter chair informed, but much as that was done, even if the chapter chair underscored and informed, but that one was done on behalf of all of us, and so it should be
clarification.
So that it
clarification.
Yes, Honorable Makame, you are done, eh?
I'm done, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
So, Honorable Susan, there is no one,
thank you for
Honorable Fancy, no one substantively on the floor to take the clarification. Honorable Kasamba, but you can have that clarification in your substantive debate, because the opportunity will come.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Allow me also to thank our brother, Honorable Jojo Dong, for the submission on behalf of all the 6 chapters, for the job well done, and I want to congratulate all the chapter leadership and the members for the effort we put in to generate these very important issues and recommendations that will help the integration agenda be taken to another level. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you that last year in February we did a tour where we interfaced with different organs and institutions. And now in February again, we've done the country assessment on the compliance in as far as the integration is concerned, and making sure that we even create awareness amongst the stakeholders to ensure that the integration is not for us who are elected to be in Arusha, or for the sector council, or the secretariat and the different organs of the institution. So I want to commend the efforts year in, year out to make sure that we follow up. And I want to appeal to council to take this as a very important protracted process which will facilitate deepening, widening, and making sure that all the issues that need the attention of the people of East Africa are brought to table. I want to thank the various Chapter 8 heads and the recommendations, and one of the first important one I have identified is from Burundi on page 17, which talks of the weak participation of the private sector in the EAC integration. We all know that the integration is people-centered and it is private sector driven. We must develop mechanism whereby most of the private sector players, the national chambers of commerce, the private sector foundations in our partner states, the civil society, the businessmen, like in Kampala we have the businessmen who are trading within the various parts of East Africa, cross-border businessmen. These are the people, these are the low-hanging fruits. We must put much more emphasis to make sure that they are brought on board, they interface with the integration challenges, and we must facilitate, lubricate, and make sure that they are able to appreciate. And at the end of the day, as we reach the fourth pillar of political federation, they should have apex associations and business centers at regional level, coordinating, making sure that facilitating trade at state level, local level, and at cross-border points is well integrated. I pray that this is given much more emphasis. When I went to Rwanda, recommendations and observations, I want to thank the team of Rwanda. Everywhere is a general trend. There is low awareness of EAC matters in our partner states. This one we must agree, and we must put it into perspective that year in, year out, efforts must be carried out to make sure that we have champions. And Eala, being a people's representative, we should be the champions, the vanguards, to make sure that integration reaches where it is desired to reach. There is need to establish a formal framework of relationship between Eala and the national parliaments. It has been mentioned in all the chapter observations and recommendations. We need to have a strong communication strategy through the council chairs, the council members, together with the national parliaments, the speakers, the various committees, so that all the relevant committees at regional level are hooked and linked to the national systems, where we make sure that whenever a bill, whenever a policy, a protocol is well grounded in the national parliaments. And after all, they are the people's representative. So we must be making sure that at a regional interval, a regular interval, maybe every after 3 months or twice a year, we should be having an interface with the various sector players to make sure that we inform, we get feedback from them, and we assess the progress and even monitor how far are some of the non-tariff barriers still being handled, and even the harmonization. I was impressed by the recommendation of the need for restoration of the regional food balance sheet. This is my docket. Many of us, all of us, the only business we cannot escape from is having time to sit and having food. There are regions in the integration areas where there are always abundance and scarcity. So it is our role as partner state players to facilitate balancing up the balance sheet, because at all times a balance sheet must always balance and account. So I want to appeal to make sure that this observation is critically brought to book under the council systems, given the fact that we don't have even a commission. We don't have an institutional framework at the regional level celebrating 20 years. Can you imagine a home, a young man, 20 years, about to get married? The ESC is 20 years. But in the home, there is no kitchen where food is processed from. So this is a very serious recommendation, which I appreciate, because if anybody will ever smile, he will smile when there is food on the table. We may make roads, we may build schools, we may create energy, but the smile of an East African every day is after being assured that food is readily available. No mother will take a child to school when she has 5 children and they have no food. So this is a protracted struggle which we must bring to the attention of the leadership of the ESC, that integration without food security, food balancing is a major anomaly, it's a misnomer in our systems of operations. And they conclude it by saying on number 13, ESC should allocate resources to agriculture activities from the partner states. This is very good. We are passing a budget, we are about to pass a supplementary, which I am about to give a red card, because there is no allocation towards enhancing mechanization of agriculture in the region, irrigation in the region, extension, improved breeds, livestock enhancement. These are all the areas where we need resources so that the people of East Africa can increase their value and volumes, of which they will trade among themselves and also trade within the global marketing systems. I want to appreciate the team from South Sudan. They raised a lot of issues as far as awareness. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the Council, and together with us as Eala members, that if our brothers and sisters from South Sudan, as they get into the roadmap for stabilization in the peace processes, time has come for them to create much more awareness in as far as the integration matters are concerned. You can see most of the stakeholders they interfaced with, they were asking, and they were having a lot of fears. If we open up, won't these other people who come around will take over? We must have an opportunity to create awareness, build confidence. And I remember when we were debating about the peace process in South Sudan, I made a proposal highlighting how we can organize young people from South Sudan being put under placement in the different partner states, in schools, in communities, to be able to appreciate and go back and become the change agents, become the champions for the integration process. And I pray that a proposal under the leadership of the chapter chair of South Sudan should be put on table to make sure that we are seen making inroads in stabilizing and putting issues on the ground in South Sudan. As I wind up, I want to
yes, you wind up.
To thank the Ugandan team, and I represented them together with we made a cross-border engagement between Honorable Maganda, Minister of State for Integration, and Honorable Ndombaro, Dr. Ndombaro at Mutukula, where we interfaced with the cross-border leadership to sort out a few issues. And this is the spirit we want us to engage in the next action. Cross-border interface between ministers responsible for trade, responsible for ESC, going and meeting communities across borders should be one of the strategies we undertake together with the area MPs and the members of parliament from the cross-border, from the partner states. It's a mechanism we can undertake to ensure that all the cross-border issues are solved when leadership at the national level in the partner two states are interfacing with the local communities to solve some of the precarious situations that may be prevailing between the two partner states in terms of movement of goods, movement of people, and vaccination of animals, and allowing free movement of commodities as it is envisaged. Otherwise, I support the report, and I commend that the Council of Ministers takes note and make sure that actions are put in place to make sure that we improve the people-centeredness of the integration. I thank you,
Thank you very much, Honorable Kasamba. Honorable Kimbisa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you, Honorable Speaker, for accepting this mission to take place. And an imam normally will pray, a Muslim imam will normally pray going or heading Mecca. But if the imam decides to head South Africa, he will confuse all the prayers behind him and the congregation. So you accepted, you appointed through Mecca, and the commission also, I congratulate, they accepted, which I think is a good job. I also congratulate Honorable Dongo for speedy reading. Some of us did follow, but I think it was very good and we really understood. Honorable Speaker, the report gives us what we call a bird's eye view of what is happening in the partner states. And really, even if one was not there, you can roughly follow and understand what is happening in all the 6 partner states as far as the implementation of the process is concerned. Honorable Speaker, really this exercise gave us value for money, and therefore I would really strongly urge it can be repeated and it will not be wasting of time or resources. It's a good exercise. My problem is the report should not be an end to itself. The report should be a means to an end. Meaning what? Now, who is going to be the consumer of this information and this report? What will be the follow-up mechanism? Is it just a talking exercise in here and then the end of the story? Who is going to make a follow-up, serious follow-up on all these recommendations? Who will be responsible for the follow-up and the tight marking of all the good and beautiful recommendations which has been put forward here? And what is the time frame after here? What happens? I think these are very important issues, so that at least if we do an exercise, we know for sure someone, somewhere, sometimes will be responsible to make a follow-up. With all that, I was a little bit disappointed, and maybe with a light touch I could say, some of the reports from some partner states don't show some kind of self-criticism or internal challenges. It looks as if everything in those particular partner states were rosy, everything was perfect, everything was godly managed. I don't think that's fair. You know, there should be some challenges, but we didn't see some challenges. I can understand a good number of partner states were putting some blames to Tanzania. I can understand because Tanzania is sharing the border with about 4 or 5 countries, except with an exception of South Sudan. I can understand, but I think the blame and the punching was too much. You know, too much punching. I can understand if you punch, but also punch yourself. You know, because once you point a finger, this finger is pointing, but these 3 fingers are pointing to yourself, and you're not saying what is happening there. Say what's happening in your country as well as punch the other country. I think that will be fair. Another thing was I don't know whether I was dozing or I was not listening. I didn't see the criticism and the challenges happening between partners, some partner states and other partner states. I don't like to mention names, you will understand yourselves, you guys. I didn't see, I didn't hear one partner state is having business or border, but nothing being mentioned. I've seen about 2 or 3 countries sharing borders, nothing has been mentioned, as if also things were rosy. What I'm saying, please next time, the report should be fair, the report should be balanced, and cover every aspect, internal challenges, neighbor challenges, etc., etc. Then we shall understand that really these reports are meaningful and we should follow suit. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kimbiso. Let me exhaust the list I had done first. Then I will pick another list. Honorable Aden.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. And I also join my colleagues in thanking Honorable Odongo, who on behalf of the chapter chairs very ably presented this eloquent report, which highlighted and brought to light a lot of the very important issues which were captured during our sensitization program. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of public participation, I think my colleagues have very eloquently pointed it out. Indeed, to all of us, though we knew how important public participation is, but when we touched the publics of EAC and realized 2 things, how low an awareness there is. The level of awareness is extremely low with regards to a number of EAC policy issues, laws, opportunities that are out there in the region. And when we yet interrogated and engaged the public on the opportunities, we realized how much interest it generated from them. We realized, Right Honorable Speaker, this is a venture, an opportunity that I think Council, the Secretariat under them, and the Legislative Assembly need to meet and talk very seriously with regards to this issue. One thing cannot be denied for sure. Even if you take an expert engineer inside the market here in Zanzibar where we are, to explain to the people how he comes from the headquarters of EAC as a technocrat and he wants to revolutionize this place and redesign again and call the people to come and listen to him. It is not the same as when Honorable Mariam stands on a podium there as a politician and calls the people to listen to them. People turn up more to listen to more to politicians than they do to technocrats. That is the wisdom which brought the issue of the East African Legislative Assembly. That is why the founders of the EAC found it very important to have politicians representing the diversity in our countries to represent the interest of our people. Using politicians for public participation is something that is very, very important. I say this because, Right Honorable Speaker, I have an insight of how much in terms of budgetary allocation the Secretariat allocates huge amounts of resources in the name of engagement of public. But indeed, while we agree that their expert input helps a lot in ensuring that there is, uniformity in terms of infrastructure and things like that, nonetheless, when it comes to the common people want to hear more of politicians. It is important to use this House and the members of this House to extend the understanding among the people of East Africa. It is only the day when we achieve a common understanding among the people of East Africa that we will see the true benefit of the East African community. If our people are not aware about the opportunities and the existence of the EAC and the laws and the things that they can benefit of, we will not go far. We will for many years remain in these areas whereby we have a low growth. Right, Honorable Speaker, the issue of free movement of people, Article 104 of our Constitution, is very clear with regards to why, what is one of the reasons why this EAC was formed. And one of the agreements that they did was they agreed to adopt measures to achieve the free movement of persons, labor, service, and ensure the enjoyment of the rights of establishment and residence of their citizens within the community. Is it happening? Truth be told, it is not. Every country that has reported back here has reported on challenges with regards to the people of East Africa saying we are unable to go and tap the opportunities out there in where we have seen in the other member states. Right, Honorable Speaker. If there is an issue that Council and Summit need to pay a lot more attention to, is to allow the free movement of people and the establishment of people. There might have been reasons in the past to say that, you know, we are not all in the same level of development status. Some of the countries are more developed and therefore they might take over job markets here, these there. No, that is not anymore, Right Honorable Speaker. I challenge Council and anybody to go and look at the trade numbers, the actual numbers in terms of trade inflows. The United Republic of Tanzania and the United Republic of Uganda, I can say with confidence, are now, as we are, probably the fastest growing beneficiaries of trade in the East Africa region. The records speak for themselves. Look for those numbers in your regions. Why am I saying this? If before anybody thought that there is a big country, Kenya, you know, that can dominate and all this, I want to tell you guys, people have changed. Industrialization has happened. Markets have opened up. There is therefore no reason whatsoever for any member state to close its boundaries to trade or to movement of people to our other colleagues. Open up. You benefit as well. I am saying this point because when we engaged in Kenya, the people of Kenya, the publics, because we love Tanzania very much, they are our closest brothers, we enjoy a very long borderline with them, and therefore there is a lot of our society that interacts freely across, and it's very historical, it's from many years, very, very many years. When we moved in the Kenyan market, we were shown markets, and I challenge you, when you go to Nairobi next time, please go to the Kenyatta market. It's one of probably the largest market after Kariokor in Nairobi, and probably one of the largest in Kenya in terms of market. It's an open air market. Traders go there. The entire of Nairobi population come there for business. The largest dominating people who drive that market are called the Chagas. We don't have people called Chaga in Kenya. Right, Honorable Speaker, none of them is asked for a work permit. They are freely engaged in their business, registered legally, and this is the East Africa we want. Similarly, when we walked through the people in that large market of Kariokor that you know in Nairobi, you come across the Burundian community who we thought are small brothers, dominating a very large percentage of that market. They are importing their goods freely from the port of Mombasa, and they are big stakeholders and players in the Kenyan economy. This is the East Africa we want. When you stand in the border of Kenya and Tanzania in Namanga, Right Honorable Speaker, it is visible. You will find hundreds and hundreds of lorries of goods entering from Tanzania into Kenya. But I can tell you almost less than a handful of the same going in the other direction. Why? Because the traders complained that there are a lot of NTBs on the other side. We must endeavor to fight and remove those NTBs. It is in the interest of all our countries, both Kenya and the United Republic of Tanzania, because your economy is also growing. A lot of the foods being consumed, fresh produce like fruits being consumed in Nairobi now, are grown either in Uganda or in Tanzania. Therefore, when a Kenyan person comes to us and says, I have been denied a work permit to work in Tanzania or in Uganda, I'm just picking an example, then it negates the spirit of EAC. That is why I would like to seek our countries, our member countries, like we have done in Kenya. You are an East African, welcome anytime. Welcome anytime. Establish your business, come and work, do any opportunity that you have. But the laws of natural justice demand that reciprocation to that kind of effect will only be meaningfully, very gainful if it happens freely. Right, Honorable Speaker, if I move from the issue of free movement of people, there is the issue of standards. This is the other problem that we have. Why is it that goods cannot move freely across East Africa? It's because of standardization issue. I would like to seek counsel. We know we have already policies in place, EAC policies in place. But please, these policies are not being implemented, and these standards are very many. Finished goods, vehicle axle loads, name them, educational standards, and all these. These issues need to be implemented. They need to move fast. That is why when a person comes from, wants to seek a job opportunity in another country, if the certificates they hold, yesterday we listened to the universities, the ESC universities, the Inter-University Council. Once you standardize these things, then job mobility becomes very easy. People are able to use their certificates across the region. And for that reason, the issue of standardization is very, very important. Right, Honorable Speaker? Before the close of the last plenary, we had one of our colleagues, Honorable Gideon, who brought a very sensitive issue with regards to a student from the Republic of South Sudan who was denied an entry to a college in Kenya, the law school, and the letter that he gave copies to us of was written among the reply from the college that RSS, or Republic of South Sudan, is not a member of the East African community. We, as the legislators from Kenya, took that issue up, and in less than 2 weeks of the matter being brought to our attention, the issue was resolved and the child was in college and she's enjoying her studies in Nairobi. This is a level of intervention as leaders of the EAC we must all be prepared to take so that this EAC thing works and works in the benefit of our people. Right, Honorable Speaker? We cannot overemphasize. We cannot overemphasize.
Clarification, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Musamali.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity, and Honorable Aden for giving way. The clarification I'm seeking here is this intervention which you made to have this student from South Sudan integrated in the school system in Kenya. Should it be a matter of intervention by members of parliament of Eala, or it should be a policy matter? I thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's just that because of time, I didn't want to give much details to this. Sometimes we write our laws, and it even happens to many of the EAC laws that I have seen. It says eligible people are from Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, Burundi, and it ends. The list ends there. there is no South Sudan to it. This was a case of the existence of a piece of legislation in Kenya, which instead of reading beneficiaries are members from the East African community states, it listed the names of countries which South Sudan was not one of.
Can I give you information?
Can I say now, as we speak now, that particular legislation is already under amendment?
Information.
It is already. I will accept.
Thank you, Honorable colleague, for giving way.
Honorable Rose, I hadn't recognized you. But you proceed. Proceed.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Now, I just want to give information which is very, very important to this debate which Honorable Abdulkadir is pushing. When you look at the emblem, the current emblem for the EAC, anywhere, even that map there which is on the flag, South Sudan was incorporated to the EAC, see how many years? 3 years, 4 years ago. But up to today, even that emblem and all our letterheads, South Sudan is not reflected. So who is responsible for all this? Those are the things Honorable Abdulkadir is trying to bring up. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Abdulkadir, because we had a discussion about this, let's clear this so that it doesn't divert us further. First of all, the issue in Kenya was there is a law that had opted to list partner states instead of mentioning the bloc. And this is the law that was enacted before the Republic of South Sudan became a member of EAC. So the decision not to admit a student was indifferent. It was a lazy decision, because if somebody had acted in good faith, he would have known that the intention of the law was to admit everyone from EAC, and that the law had listed partner states before one partner state was admitted into the bloc. And I think that is how it was cleared. So, Honorable Musamari, it wasn't a policy decision not to admit the student. It was an incident-based decision which was cleared that way. It had been a wrong interpretation, and with the intervention of members, it was cleared. So about the flag, we raised this issue in the Speaker's Bureau when we met in Juba. And I think that has been some months back. And we were told that the process to do a new emblem was ongoing. It's a process that is coordinated by the Secretariat. So I asked the Council to take note of this, and during the reply, you will tell us how far the process has gone. Because it is a big omission that our emblems do not reflect the membership of one of us. Thank you. So you proceed with your debate, Honorable, and try and conclude.
I am concluding, right, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, and on that note, very well guided, I appreciate very much. Yesterday, the institute you launched on Friday in Nairobi, the very important Institute of Parliamentary Studies, I noticed the emblem is not the same. It is now a modern emblem which showed the Republic of South Sudan as part of the map. I don't know, Council will tell us whether that is a new one or whether that's a different one. But I noticed that, right, Honorable Speaker. As I end, I want to say there are times and moments when people are in leadership. There are times when people are in leadership. This moment of now, we have been entrusted with the leadership of the EAC. We are in history. Let us make a difference in history. Let us each endeavor to make sure that EAC is a success and works in our member countries, even if it means challenging the status quo in our countries. There are certain things our member states will continue to hold dear to. They will continue to hold dear to and say, we can't let go of this. Without letting go of those, EAC will not be achieved in full. Right, Honorable Speaker? And this includes and is not limited to to the movement of people, to trade, and to discussing issues in reality. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, if myself and my dear good friend, Honorable Mariam, and we are very good friends, for whatever reason, have a small disagreement between us, the rest of you should not sit around and watch us in our disagreement if you are true friends and you care for each other. Honorable Speaker, I have seen and watched issues within the EAC, including diplomatic standoffs, which sometimes I wonder, where is the intervention of the others? Because when we disagree, me and my good friend, it helps when Honorable Odongo here, instead of sitting there and watching us in our disagreement, to say, you guys, come on. What is this? Today, in Nairobi, you must have seen our president and the president of Somalia in State House, Nairobi, holding hands. There were serious issues, what we saw with ambassadors being told to report back and here and there. But it took the initiative of our brother in Ethiopia to grab the hands of his two friends and say, guys, what's going on here? And the issue is now no more. I see a lot of opportunity. I see a lot of opportunity of otherwise diplomatic engagements and disagreements that only requires some of our very competent heads of states and members of summit from the other states to grab the hands of these two friends and say, guys, what's going on here? And it will be resolved. There is a challenge to all of us in this time of leadership of EAC, from the summit to council to us as legislators. It is time we stand up for our people. It is time we work for the betterment of the people of East Africa. I want to end this, but maybe to allow information, then I end.
Yes, Honorable Mnyao.
I just like to comment and give more information, Honorable Kadir, that this issue of conflict and to start solving when the heads they are shaking hands together. Even today in our coming Eala, we have initiated something. Honorable Rugema here, when we had a dispute of a committee from Burundi to go to South Sudan and things like that. But according to his initiative, we resolved today that members from Rwanda, they will go to Burundi and Burundi will go to Rwanda. We have started ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good initiative. May I wish that it becomes contagious. Thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I think I have said enough. And I thank you very much for the opportunity.
I thank you, Honorable Aden. Honorable Dr. Woda Jeremiah. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. And first and foremost, I would like to congratulate you and the Office of the Clerk and congratulate the commissioners also. And I would like also to congratulate the honorable members upon this successful exercise which we took in our partner state. It was a really good exercise and we have reaped the fruit. And I just want to say that for us as members of Eala from South Sudan, it's not only a 7 days exercise, it's an everyday business for us. Wherever we go, we have been even called in Arabic that these are Nasta Eala, which means that these are people of Eala. So wherever we go, being a funeral or wedding or even in any forum, we speak about the EAC and the integration. And I was amazed when I've seen that the lack of the awareness is not only in South Sudan, it's also in the other partner states. That's why I really want to urge the council that let's do that thing as a practice. And for me, I'm looking forward to April when we will carry the other sensitization program. And I really wish that it will be more than 1 week because for us in South Sudan, we really worked very hard because we had a lot of stakeholders to meet And I would like to thank my members from South Sudan under the leadership of our chair Thomas and the clerk Peter, whom we really worked him very hard from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. so that we can cover the sectors which we wanted to meet with. The other things, Right Honourable Speaker, we realize that still the people of East Africa and including South Sudanese are not really getting the benefit which they're supposed to get in terms of the free movement of people and the free movement of labor. And also there is a lot of non-tariff barriers which my colleague and Chair Honorable Matthias called most of the time that these are mental barriers. In South Sudan, as we have indicated in the report, that there is a problem of the certificate of origin which is not known among the traders and which make them to face some problem. And sometimes even if they have it, it's not recognized in some other partner states. The other thing is that, Honorable Speaker, I've noticed in the report for the Republic of Kenya that they have mentioned the insecurity which some of the trucks drivers face in South Sudan. I'm very sure this one is not a recent one, because during the instability there were some incidents even whereby some of the South Sudanese also have made some problem, but now the government, after this revitalized peace, the government of South Sudan is committed to protect all the East African and to protect our people. Because also you can realize that in South Sudan we are already integrated. We have Kenyans, we have Ugandan, we have Eritrean, Somali, we have even Sudanese and other nationalities who are there, and they have no problem regarding the work permit, regarding them having their businesses. I agree with most of the report about the problem of the ease of information between the national assemblies and between the Eala, because for us as members of South Sudan, our members from the National Assembly used to take the information of what is happening in the EAC from us. Though we know that Article 65 indicates how the relationship between the EAC and National Assembly should be, but I think it's not taken seriously, and that also I've found that it's a problem not only in South Sudan but in the other partner states. And let me conclude by saying in page 32, for the records, the name of the Speaker of the Transitional National Legislative Assembly has been written that it's Anthony Lino Manaka, but it's Makana. So that one should be corrected. It's, the name is Makana. And I just want to conclude by saying we will be all the time sensitizing our people, because I can remember very well when we went to Radio Bahita, there's an old lady called Rhoda, and she's one of the people who really follow whatever happened in South Sudan. She told us that, you know, in her local Arabic that, but you, my children, when you decided to go to the East Africa, why you didn't tell the people? So even some of the South Sudanese, they don't know that we have been admitted to East Africa from 2016. And this thing we should, as members of Eala from the chapter and also the other chapters, educate our people. Because I was shocked when I went to Nairobi. I met during our CTI outreach, and I met a very reputable officer who really asked me that, you guys, are you really integrated in East Africa? And I thought that that one should be really known by most of the people who are supposed to be decision makers. So that one, Honorable Speaker, we have to work on it, and we are committed as members from the chapter of South Sudan to really preach the integration wherever we go. I submit and I support the report.
Thank you very much. Claude, Honorable Claude was the last on the list I had picked. Now I pick another one. Honorable Claude, you will proceed. Honorable Leontine, Honorable Kim Gai, Honorable Musamari. I had picked you. You will be in the next after Honorable Claude. Honorable Fatuma, Honorable Rutazana, Honorable lack. So let's start with Honorable Claude, then Honorable Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to first congratulate honorable members for the work well done, and also I would like also to thank the Commission for putting on this program on the calendar of activities of Eala. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like to start my comment on the format of this report, the headings and enumerations. When you look at them, for example, on page 37 of the report, on the heading 5.5.5, they are saying, after a presentation by the members, the audience made the following observations. Here, I think the numbering should start from there, and the Roman 2 becomes Roman 1, and they continue from there. The same when you go to the report from Rwanda chapter, the way the headings are written and the characters, the size of characters of the headings are not in the good way. I think also it should be harmonized by the previous way of writing the headings. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want to talk about the issue of youth ambassadors. In this report, it was reported that this forum, which is sponsored by the East African community, doesn't work with the national youth councils. It is like an independent organ, and when they go there, they go back to the respective partner states. They don't report back to the youth they are representing. Just analyzing the word youth ambassadors, they should be the ones representing youth from the partner states where they are coming from. But the members of this forum, they are not recognized in the partner states by the youth councils. I think the Council of Ministers should follow up this issue so that these representatives in this forum of youth ambassadors come from or are designed by the youth councils in the partner states, so that the resolutions they take or they make can be easily implemented in partner states. But, Honorable Speaker, when you go to page in the report of Kenya chapter, it is where they are talking about working permits. Or it is on page 20 of this report. They say, considering the high rate of unemployment in Kenya, residents of Nairobi were concerned that the government has continued to grant working permits to foreigners, and especially EAC citizens. Yes, the Kenyan citizens are unemployed. When you analyze this sentence, this argument is like they were advising the government of Kenya to limit the issuance of working permits to East African citizens. I look at this as a nationalistic ideology. I wish and I propose that this argument be dropped from the report.
Can you repeat the quotation? Where is it?
It is on page 20.
Page 20? Yes, where?
About the working permits.
Residents reported difficulties in accessing work permits by Kenyans who seek employment.
That one, the above one. It is number
Considering?
Roman 13.
Considering the high rate of unemployment in Kenya, residents of Nairobi were concerned that the government has continued to grant work permits to foreigners and especially EAC citizens, yet the Kenyan citizens are unemployed. So you are saying it is nationalistic?
Yes.
Yes, but let me guide on this so we can move over it. It is reported. It is reported. It is not recommended. I think the report is just capturing what people said, which is nationalistic, I agree with you. But it was said, and it was reported as such. But if it was coming as a recommendation, then we would have had a challenge with it. Yes. I think that is... Yes, Honorable.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this particular issue was a comment that came from the public. Not so much with the emphasis to say block others from getting work permit in Kenya, but to say, please request our colleagues in the other countries as well to grant us work permits like other EAC members, people, citizens of EAC from the other countries are freely allowed to come and work in Kenya. So it is really not any nationalistic of a sort in a way. It's just a comment which says we seek for you as our advocates to reach out to the others, and I think that's what I did earlier here when I spoke, to say that the element of responsibility.
Honorable Aden, if that is what you were told, then the drafting has not reflected that. So we have a choice between just having it because that is what we are told it was said, or when the presenter of the report is making his reply, he may as well choose to drop it because it is a request from a member, because it is not advancing our ideas. So either there can be a proper drafting to capture properly what the people in Nairobi told the members. Honorable Aden, now you are giving, because you were there and you know what we were told, let the records reflect exactly that. Because what is written here is different, right? Yes. So now that is the guidance we are giving. The records should be properly, and because you have spoken on record, the Hansard has already captured that, and the report is duly corrected.
Clarification here, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Claude, you proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. If this is an issue raised by the community, I would be happy also to see what honorable members have replied to that, because it was a sensitization program. It would have helped the citizens also to understand the integration agenda we are advocating for. Right, Honorable Speaker, I have also another comment. In this report, there is where they have been, not even once, but many times there in the report, it is written, they have been using general terms like where they say some partner states. When you say some partner states, it is not clear. I think it would be better if we be specific and we identify those partner states who are not fulfilling some of the agreements or who are not doing well as it was reported. Because when you say some partner states, it is ambiguous and it is vague. For example, it is on page 45. It is on page 45 where they say it is numeration Roman 5. In that paragraph they say, it was noted that Uganda is extending a number of ordinary citizen reserved privileges to all East Africans, which other partner states had not done. whereas other non-Ugandan Ugandan East Africans were able to buy and own land in Uganda. Ugandans were unable to do the same in other partner states. I think other partner states here things should be set clear, because I know in Rwanda East Africans can come and buy land. There are no limitations. I think it should be clear here what partner states are talking about.
Honorable Claude, okay, I think everyone gets your point. And when maybe your proposal can be more clear. But even as it is here, some partner states, if a partner state feels they are not part of that problem, then there is no problem. And if there is someone who feels they are part of that problem, then there is a problem. I think some of the language is picked as such for a purpose. We are parliament, we are not a court of law. So, yes, we pick a language that is convenient for our context and circumstances. But if we were in a court of law where it has to be strict proof, maybe the language would be different. But I think what we need here is to capture a bigger picture. And the bigger picture, as soon as we see that test is passed, then it works for us. You can proceed with that understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was concluding my comments. Thank you.
Are you done, Honorable Kulud? Okay, thank you. Honorable Thomas.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to add my voice to my other colleagues. First of all, I would want to thank you, your leadership, and the Commission who really considered this exercise to take place. This was a milestone and it was important. I would want also to thank my colleague from the other chapter for the job well done. I would want to emphasize into this important document. It is very important because it is enriched with so many information in regards to the EAC integration. It captured an example of lack of awareness of our citizens in all 6 member states, issues of NTVs, issues of harmonization of laws. So the document is important, which we need to look at it, and this August House need to take it seriously. It's important, and we need to go further. I would want this report be debated and be, as we are actually debating it, be adopted at the end because it's important to all of us. All the document talk of issues of our linkages because one of the concerns raised is issues to do with our linkages between institutions within EAC. An example of Eala link with our national parliament in 6 member states. It was not good, and that is why it contributed a lot into lack of awareness of our citizens in the community in getting how the integration process is going on. So we need to look at this and try to double our effort and reach our people.
Yes. Honorable, sorry for the interruption. Just a minute, so I can correct something. You switch off the microphone briefly. There is this issue that Honorable Claude was raising, and when he was talking about some partner states, some can be inclusive or exclusive. But the way it is written here is that it is not actually some, it is same. Ugandans were unable to do the same in other partner states. Now the way it is, it assumes it is impossible to buy land in every other partner state. It's not like saying some other partner states. So I think you will need to cross-check the factual situation in every partner state to see whether it should be as global as it is or it should be more clearer. I'm not sure my point. You get my point? Yes. So, Honorable George, I think that can be corrected factually. Yes. Honorable Susan, sorry. Honorable Thomas, some members send me messages here and it clicks in my head.
So, the importance of this report to us is really relevant. I would want to pick an intervention from my colleague Adam that in some situations, as leaders of this community, when issues are arise, we don't need to wait into policies and other laws within the community. We need to intervene whenever there is an issue as leaders of this community. So I would concur with his intervention. Whenever there is an issue, you need to intervene. You are a leader of this community. Whether you are a member of this August House or you are a member of the council, your intervention is very relevant. So whenever issues arise, we need not to wait. Because if we have to wait, it can get worse. So I concur with that intervention, and we need to take it seriously. There are issues to do with insecurity. One of the issues hindering our intervention also. I came from Republic of South Sudan. We were actually in conflict for some years. As my colleague mentioned, in page 19, there was an issue raised by my colleague from the chapter of the Republic of Kenya, issue to do with the concern of the safety of our drivers who are actually traveling from the Kenyan border to South Sudan. Yeah, I came across that information. And immediately, we did an intervention. And that is why you could see there is an ongoing, and the road now is not like before. And then again, with the relative peace, I hope these things may not continue again. So there is an ongoing peace implementation. I hope the road between Uganda and Kenya, South Sudan, will definitely be clear in few days to come. I would want to stress actually and emphasize on the importance of the sensitization. As a member state, we need this exercise to continue. As my colleague, Dr. Roda, put it, it was one of the concerns raised by all the stakeholders we have met when we were in Juba. They even recommended, they went further recommending, if we can extend beyond Juba and go to other member states. So that one, we needed to put it as one of the important. My other point, I would want also to urge the council, because council has a role to play in this situation. Any issues related to our member state is a responsibility and is a mandate of the council to relate us and link us with our member state and other institutions in the state. So I urge the council to take this report as very important, so that they have to double their effort in extending this and considering issues to do with sensitization. It will not be only a work of Eala, but also they have a role to play in this. So as I conclude, I would want to urge all my colleagues, the members, honorable members in this August House, to at least double our effort in sensitizing, whether it is not official, we need at least
to do some work when we are back home in our member state. So I conclude by thanking all our members who have really contributed to this report. The report is so good, and we need to take it as a way forward in interacting with our community in the community. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Thomas. Honorable Leontine.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute in this debate. Mine will be short and general. It's really obvious that we see the importance of having sensitization in our partner states. If you look at the way our stakeholders were very enthusiastic regarding this activity. However, Right Honorable Speaker, as we may all recall, early last year, we conducted tours, Central and Northern Corridor tours, and we made a number of recommendations. And here again, we had a sensitization activity. We have a number of recommendations, and it's true that we are not responsible of implementing these recommendations. We are formulating this, but we can't implement them. For this, I would like to urge the Council of Ministers to take seriously these recommendations and implement them, so as the work we are doing can make a positive impact. Henceforth, Mr. Speaker, I would like to make a proposal. When we conduct a next sensitization activity, we should go back where we went and verify whether the recommendations that we made have been worked on. Otherwise, we'll continue making recommendations. They will come. If we don't make a follow-up, it will be like, it won't be any impact on our work. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Leontine. Honorable Kim.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And also let me add my voice to thank Honorable Jojo Dongo for presenting this very important report in the House. Right Honorable Speaker, I think now this report, when we discuss the last report of trade, which presented by a Committee of Trade by Honorable Guy, and when we are discussing also the motion of the pre-movement in September in Arusha, all of them are very related in that matter. So for us, how this House of all resolutions who are being passed by this August House are going to be ended. Because this question should go to the Council, what is the solutions for those matters we are raising every time in this August House? We have passed it, we adopt it, and we do not see any light at the end. Because now when you see this report, it is like one report. It's not like that they are coming from other partner states. It's like it's coming in one partner state because the concerns are one. Honorable Speaker, I will not go along because I will go to the report direct. And in the report, first let me congratulate our colleague and my brother and my chairman, Honorable Aden Abdel Gadir and Honorable Kolonzo, who are work better to solve the problem of the student of South Sudan in Kenya. Thank you very much. And also I hope, I also will thank my colleague, Honorable Gideon, that he did not come up with a motion again in this floor because you met the... If you look, Honorable Right Honorable Speaker, in page 19 of the report. In page 19, Roman 9, which is safety of Kenyan truck driver in South Sudan. Right now, Speaker, when we are talking and we are presenting this report in the House, it is better, yes, our colleagues and our citizens in the in Kenya and the Republic of Kenya raise their concern to the chapter during sensitizations, but it is good also to come up shall be more clarifications, because when we talk about trucks between Kenya and South Sudan, we only have two borders, which is Nadefal and Kaya, and the third is Numuli, which the good come from Tanzania, good come from Kigali, good come from Uganda, go to South Sudan. And since 2005, until now, we didn't receive any concern of that matter. So when you brought those issues in the House, it is better to give us more clarifications where those happen, whether in Kaya, whether in Numili, because South Sudan it receives everything, the live meat. It's come from our neighbor country, which is Uganda and Kenya and Tanzania and Rwanda. So I do not see, for me, I have a concern of this matter, although it is good it is raised, but I need shall be more clarification. What happened? Because when we are going to act or council going to address this issue, it must be addressed as it is happened in the border or where it is happened. So also we cannot just raise that there are safety of Kenya truck driver in South Sudan and where we don't know where it is happened. We also, it is lack of information, and it is not good to raise this issue. And the second issue in page 32. In page 32, which is read also by the Republic of South Sudan concerned to cattle rustling between Kenya and South Sudan, which is Turkana.
Which page is it?
Page 32.
22.
32. 32, yeah. Which is under interaction with the Transitional Legislative Assembly in South Sudan. That the member are members of the Transitional Legislative Assembly expressed concern about the border conflict between Kenya and South Sudan that has emerged cattle rustling. This issue, right now, Speaker, it is between the two tribes, which is Turkana in Kenya and also Tobosa in in South Sudan. It is a good it's come up there because I come in the cattle background. So any cattle background, when you see the good opportunity, see 100 cow there, you can go and just yeah.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Aden.
Honorable Speaker, is Honorable Kim Guy.
Maybe you can help me recapture what he said, because I missed it and I will not be able to guide.
Honorable Kim Guy has brought up a very important issue, which I was listening very keenly because this is a real issue. And it's an issue to our society with regards to cattle rustling between the borders of the cross-border cattle rustling between South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, Kenya, and things like that. And the communities he mentioned, the Tobosas, the Turkanas, and these guys, and the Karamojongs. And I think up to there he was doing very well. And I thought he will come up with a strong conclusion to recommend that those issues be addressed, which I will agree with him very much. But he says that if given the opportunity, if he sees a number of 200 cows there, he himself could be tempted to to take them over. Can the honourable member clarify that intention?
Well, he put it so cleverly, such that I may not be able to know whether it is through some form of violence or peacefully. So, but I wanted to assume that it will be through a persuasive way. So you can proceed, Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and also let me thank Honorable Aden Abdel Gadir. Honorable Aden Abdel Gadir, I try that the reasons. I won't try for you the reasons. So when you are coming cattle, where because some of you will not cut in cattle keepers, but for us, the company come when you see good opportunity. Many cows are there. You will listen, you look for your left hand and back. Say, how many people are there? If you see it's 5 or 6, then you can start to
mention. So, information, colleague.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Honorable.
Yes, what is it, Honorable Kasamba?
Yeah, I just want to inform the House that the corner between Uganda, Kenya, and South Sudan, where the Karamajongs in Uganda, the Topots in South Sudan, and the Pokot and the Turkanas in Kenya, have had a long, long history of raiding, cattle raiding. And somehow in Ugandan side, we've disarmed. Actually, they were raiding with arms. The proliferation of arms from Somalia to South Sudan, to Kenya, that part of Kenya, the Turkana, they have been selling bullets in markets. But on the Ugandan side, we've undertaken a deliberate effort to disarm. It is very unfortunate that some of our colleagues on the Kenyan side and on the South Sudan side still have those long arms of the rifles walking, and as he has mentioned, when he sees the numbers he can manage, then the process takes place. So it is very, very important as a Committee of Agriculture. It's very, very important. These are the issues when I talk of empowering. It's very important, and I want to inform my colleagues that's an area we should address ourselves and the Council of Ministers to make sure that it's part of the agricultural enhancement and livelihood improvement among the cattle keepers in that great part of the East African region, so that they can settle and have water. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Fatuma, what is it?
Honorable Speaker, I was disturbed by the statement of Honorable Kasamba. I think it's misleading this House that Kenyans along the border are armed and the Ugandans are not armed. Honorable Speaker, I think he needs to substantiate, because he should give us a report that Kenyan nomads or people who are living in Kenya along their borders, and we are sharing border. The border is not for Uganda alone. It's Kenya border and the Uganda border and South Sudan borders. So, and this is African borders. Chair, I think some of this statement doesn't look quite reasonable, and I think we need to get a report. Dr. Meshma, my chair, should tell us where he got his information and how many guns are in the hands of Kenyans and South Sudan. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Kasamba, you may need to put your information, because it is the information you are providing. So provide it correctly if what the Honorable Fatuma understood is not what you meant. And if that is what you meant, then let us know.
Right, Honorable.
But try and be brief.
So I'm going to be very brief. It is a fact that that part of the three borders countries, there is a lot of arms proliferation, and it is a known history that they've been having arms, and they are the one they use in adding their
both
arms.
Sides, right?
So it is correct.
Both sides.
Uganda side, we had them. They have been, but we've disarmed all of them. But they are facing a challenge because, as he has mentioned, when they see the numbers are weak, they pick them, because the disarmament has not been a tripartite approach between Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan. This can be elaborated and investigated by the Council of Ministers.
We can try and make sure that this doesn't become accusatory. There is a challenge of illegal arms in that area. As a House, we should be concerned with how we can jointly approach it. and not look at who has more arms than another, because that may not help us. So let us, at some point, whether through this report as one of the recommendations or from a different approach, see how we can work together to make sure that no one is illegally armed and doing the kind of activity that Honorable Kim was insinuating, and I advised him to desist from that line of argument.
Okay, right, well, Speaker, I will chip in that, but I think it needs solutions to be solved by the council and by the country, because every year the cattle are killed themselves in the border and took the cattle in the two countries. One was Speaker, in page in page 37 of this report, which is by the United Republic of Tanzania, page 37, Roman 4. In the engagement with the staff and student of the University of Dar es Salaam, with that they asking if South Sudan and Somalia were members of ESC and how the community handle conflict that is going in the two countries. For me already, South Sudan is a member of ESC, but I will answer the last question that the conflict in South Sudan, what is going on. We have a big issue because our independent one speaker is come on 2011. Even when I'm in Uganda, I'm in Kenya, I'm in Burundi, I'm here in Tanzania, they're just calling me Sudanese, which is where I'm coming, but they are not using the word of South Sudan, which is need time people of ESC will know, or they will separate between Sudan and South Sudan. In the issue of the peace, I will assure for the student and for the people of the United Republic of Tanzania, the peace has been signed in 12 September 2018 last year, and now it's going to be implemented next 2 months in May in May this year. So the peace in South Sudan are there, and South Sudan is a member of ESC. Right over the Speaker, I support the report with those observations.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Kim Gai. Honorable Musamali.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice on this report. And I thank the Honorable George Odongo for presenting it well. Right Honorable Speaker, this report points out a number of things which, if we are to succeed as an integrated community, must address. And from page 1 up to the last page, almost every page is identifying an issue which has to be addressed. Honorable Speaker, I will not refer to a particular page or to a particular item, but I've summarized my issues in 3. 1, Honorable Speaker, what will enable the success of this integration? How are we going to integrate? And how are we going to succeed? Honorable Speaker, I've identified that for us to succeed in this integration, partner states must, and they should not say may, and if it's possible, we should now stop using the words may in any of our language, and we say should or must. We must harmonize, for example, all the laws in these partner states, such that we are able to move in one direction. What is hindering the free movement of people are the very different laws in the different partner states. What is hindering the free movement of goods and services are the different laws or policies which are pursued by the partner states. Honorable Speaker, I'll give an example of the protocols which we have signed. The Customs Union Protocol and the Common Market Protocol. Over 10 years now since these protocols were signed. But we still have problems. We are still having NTBs. We are still having taxes that are hindering free movement of these of traders. So, what are we up to, Honorable Speaker? From Burundi to Uganda, all the 6 states, all the 6 partner states have similar problems. They all have similar problems. And it's just a matter of us stopping to pretend and address these issues as they are. Remove all of these obstacles and we trade. Remove all of these obstacles and we settle. What does it take for you to, for a person who has married from Uganda and is married in Tanzania? How long should it take for this person to be given the necessary facilities for him or her to settle as a resident? And even now, this time he's even married. He or she is married in that partner state. We have this one is cutting across. People are married. Someone from Uganda is married in Kenya or is married in Tanzania, but he is seen as a foreigner. And this one is from East Africa. I want to urge the Council of Ministers that it is high time they address this problem by amending the protocols. Have this matter on the agenda and take it seriously. That amend the protocols, the Customs Union Protocol, the Common Market Protocol, and even the East African Treaty. Even the treaty itself. Amend it if we are serious about this integration. Honorable Speaker, I didn't want to use this example, but I want to bring it. I am from an ethnic community called Bagisu, Bamasar. For one to be promoted from childhood, for a boy, to be promoted from childhood to manhood is supposed to be circumcised. You can therefore not aspire to become a man if you don't want to be circumcised. Among now, for this matter, we should not aspire to be an integrated market if we are not ready to be circumcised. Honorable Speaker, remove this obstacle.
But not all forms of Honorable Musawari, can you switch off the microphone? Not all forms of circumcision is encouraged. Some of them are not. But I get your point. Honorable members, this is a kind of debate that I cannot cut short. It will continue tomorrow. But unless the point of order is directed to me, because I'm the one speaking. And that cannot happen, or should not happen. Let me finish this first. So we will certainly continue this debate, because I think it's very important that everyone should have an opportunity to speak to it. This is a very important report. It is raising very pertinent issues, and we cannot just afford to cut it short for any convenience. And we will have to finish in time. So who is raising the point of order? Honorable Oburu, yes.
Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the honorable member to insinuate that manhood is in Bugisu, but he's saying that he's not a full, you cannot be a full man if you are not circumcised. And Mr. Speaker, I'm a very wholesome man, and I don't want to be circumcised.
Thank you. Honorable Musamari, I understand you are speaking from your own experience, but one thing we embrace in the East African community is a diversity of culture, so we cherish all of them. But your point was, if you are aspiring for something, then there is a process, even when it is painful, that you have to go through. I will take note that you will be the first to speak when we resume the debate. But I have to end it for now. You will be the first to speak, and we will continue the speaking order that I had picked already, and then there is going to be an opportunity for everyone. Honorable Makame, 1 minute only, or even less, to make an announcement you want to make.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The announcement I'd like to make is to remind honorable members and staff who are here that the United Republic of Tanzania, the chapter, has organized a dinner for us to mingle and have an informal session. So it's just nearby here, it's at Madina al-Bahar, and transport is available outside. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you. May I emphasize that we have arranged the transport ready so that we can proceed from here. Because it has to start in a few minutes' time, and if we go home where we stay and come back, it may not be easy for our providers of transport. So, honorable members, this debate will resume when we come again. And honorable members of the council, we are lucky that we are discussing these issues when we have a big presence of you, members of the council. So please prepare properly, because members will demand appropriate responses and the actionable points that will have to be worked on. Not now, when the debate is done, when it is concluded, maybe that's when the council will come in. My worry is if, Right Honorable, I will find it difficult to cut you short, and we have not extended the time.
To do.
Yes.
I beg to move that we suspend the rules so as to continue to enable people who may not be here tomorrow to contribute.
That we suspend?
We suspend the rules of time so that we can continue a few minutes, and some of us who may not be here.
Yes, but well, I don't want, it is for you to decide, honorable members, but for everyone to be able to speak, and I have got an indication of how many wanted to speak. So I don't know how long we will have to extend, for how long, unless we sit here for as much time as we have spent already, and that will not be possible. If it was something we can conclude in a few minutes, then we would do it. But Right Honorable Prime Minister, the council will be well represented, just in case you are not around. And any time you come in, you always have a right of way. So we'll still listen to you. Honorable members, the House is adjourned until tomorrow at 2:30.